Chapter 21. Chapter 21, Eliminating Earth Rats. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. Although there were many missions, there didn't seem to be many suitable for 11. The missions here were purely because some people wanted to spend little to hire beast tamers as temporary workers. For example, the mission to capture the Wind Locust alive was issued by a hotel and entrusted to the Beast Tamer Association. Wind locusts were extraordinary creatures, agricultural pests, and even popular food on the dining table. Compared to directly buying live wind locusts from the farm, it was more practical to purchase them here in the form of a mission. The only downside was that the efficiency was slower, but this obviously wasn't a time-limited emergency mission. They wanted it to be long-term. It was actually quite troublesome to catch a flying wind locust. Although these guys weren't much stronger than the green silkworm, their agility was very high. Their racial skill was wind wings, so they were very fast. After looking around, if it wasn't because 11 couldn't fly and it was too difficult to carry out this mission, perhaps Shiyu would have chosen this mission. In the battle just now, although victory was relatively easy, it wasn't like Shiyu didn't reflect on it at all. That ice-armored beast's attack was very fast. 11, who didn't have much battle experience, could only instinctively harden his whole body's defense against the attack. However, there was actually another choice at that time. It was to determine the opponent's attack position and only carry out a partial hardening. This way, it could save a lot of stamina. Although proficiency level hardening gave them the ability to fight with their whole bodies hardened, the pets winning at the smallest cost obviously meant that they had better battle skills. Perhaps the next skill can be supervision. Although the iron-eating beast's explosive speed was very fast, it needed to have better reaction speed and vision. Shiyu felt that his eyesight was better than 11's even while wearing sunglasses. This racial flaw caused 11 to be unable to accurately determine the enemy's attack position during the battle just now, so it could only harden its whole body. But if it acquired supervision, this situation could be greatly improved. In battle, it would effectively be able to see the enemy's attack. And missions such as capturing agile wind locusts were obviously also training methods to cultivate one's supervision and reflexes to a relatively good level. Naturally, it was a backup choice for Shiyu. Actually, this mission to eliminate the Earth Mouse can also be done. As 11 couldn't fly, Shiyu was looking at another mission. The Earth Element Rat, also known as the Earth Mouse, was a low-level creature in the pet world. Their racial skill was Earth Escape. In other words, they were good at underground escape. In terms of battle power, awakened Earth Element Rats were at most comparable to wild dogs. They could, one-on-one, handle adults with weapons. However, the trouble with these creatures was that they reproduced too quickly, came in large numbers, and were agile. When they encountered danger, they would usually cooperate with each other, and it was impossible to judge their threat from just the level of growth normally. Fortunately, unless they encountered a desperate situation, their first choice when encountering other creatures would definitely be to escape. Otherwise, the impact they had would definitely be greater. But even so, this kind of creature was even worse than the wind locust. They were listed as one of the 4 pests because they moved frequently, were usually hungry, and acted rampant, searching for food with all their might. Not only were they stealing food and destroying crops, but their earth escape skills could also damage buildings. There might be a relatively small number of them in the city, but there were a large number of earth rats in some rural areas. It was difficult to get rid of them completely no matter what. It was very troublesome. The mission to get rid of the earth mice was jointly issued by several villages that were under the Pingcheng district. It was also a long-term mission. Almost every day, there would be a beast tamer team going to the countryside to get rid of these pests. Annihilating the earth rat might not necessarily be easier than capturing the wind locust. It seemed like it could also be used to train 11's reaction speed. This reminded Shiyu of a game. Beat the Earth Mouse. Finding the Earth Rat and getting rid of it before it escaped into the ground, wasn't that the same as playing the Whack-A-Mole game? This mission would be paid according to the number of Earth Rats that were killed. The price wasn't high either, so it was inferior to the wind locust. Shiyu suspected that the main reason was that their bodies tasted like mud. No one wanted to eat them. They weren't as tasty as the wind locust, so the bounties were cheap. It's not bad to take 11 out to train for a few days. The hardening training has come to an end. The proficient level of hardening is enough for now. To properly train a pet, it had to develop in all aspects. After confirming that he had accepted the mission to clear the Earth Rat, Shiyu, who was holding his identity certificate, prepared to register. But just as he was queuing, coincidentally, he felt that the person in front was very familiar. The beast tamer in front of him also seemed to have sensed something. He subconsciously turned around and saw the smiling Shiyu. What a coincidence! Has the ice-armored beast recovered? This person happened to be the top student Shiyu and 11 had just defeated, Chen Kai. At that moment, when Chen Kai turned around and saw Shiyu, his expression darkened instantly. It's recovered, he said unhappily. Are you here for a mission too? Shiyu asked. Chen Kai nodded. After the ice-armored beast's injuries were treated by the beast tamer with healing ability in the battle hall, the more he thought about it after losing the battle, the more uncomfortable he felt. Thus, Chen Kai decided to work hard and take advantage of the weekend to take on missions to train himself. Then, he took a taxi here, one step faster than Shiyu, who couldn't bear to spend money on one. You too? What mission do you plan to take on? Chen Kai asked after nodding. He wanted to know what kind of training mission an expert like Shiyu would accept. Perhaps it would be worth some reference. Clearing rats. Specifically Earth rats, said Shiyu. By yourself? Chen Kai was stunned. Shiyu nodded. Is there a problem? No. Usually, it's more suitable for a few people to team up for this mission. Because Earth element rats are too cunning, teamwork is often needed to more easily eliminate them on a large scale. Why don't I form a team with you? I'll take this mission too, Chen Kai said hurriedly. Shiyu? What was wrong with this person? I'm not a beauty, and I had just tortured him. Why was he so proactive? There's no difference between one person and two people, right? I can go and call 2 more classmates. When the time comes, there will be people controlling, people pulling aggro, and people attacking. It will be more efficient. Shiyu? Are you fighting a level boss here? Shiyu thought about it. A few Earth rats alone were indeed not much of a threat, but if there were more of them, it would indeed be a little difficult for him to deal with a nest of them. Forming a team seemed to be a pretty good choice too. He couldn't be as antisocial as before. Sure, Shiyu nodded and said, then let's take this mission together. Alright, I'll call 2 more students tonight to form a standard 4-person team. Chen Kai smiled. If it were just someone of the same age, he wouldn't be so rushed either. It was mainly because Shiyu's strength had indeed hit him. He wanted to take a further look at how Shiyu trained his pets. How did Shiyu train the lazy iron-eating beast? After the 2 confirmed it, they agreed to meet here tomorrow morning. After that, Shiyu didn't stay outside for long. On the way home, he headed to the pharmacy to replenish his supplements. You again? In the pharmacy, the young doctor had a strange expression when she saw Shiyu. This was the 3rd time Shiyu had come in the past half a month. What exactly was this person doing every day? Cough, there's been a lot more training and even a battle between pets. In addition, my health has been poor since I was young, so I have no choice, Shiyu explained. The young doctor expressed his understanding and sympathy and gave Shiyu supplements. At this moment, Shiyu was also considering whether he should change to another pharmacy. Otherwise, his reputation would be affected sooner or later. Chapter 22. Chapter 22, Supervision. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. When Shiyu returned home, he started to fiddle with dinner for 11. At night, after the little iron-eating beast finished eating the iron bamboo, Shiyu also swallowed 2 refreshing capsules. Then, Shiyu called 11 over to teach it new skills. 11, come here. 11, who was full, was about to celebrate today's victory, and the celebration method was to double the training tonight. With food and drink, he just had to work hard and train so that he could gain powerful strength and easily win battles. This kind of life was very fulfilling for the little metal-eating beast. The only flaw was that it felt uneasy whenever Shiyu used the skill index. Skill, supervision. Skill level, intermediate. Notes for spiritual type skill. Consumes mental power to strengthen vision. Status, can be taught. Under 11's confused gaze, Shiyu taught it the supervision skill. 11's heart skipped a beat. It wanted to be able to tell everyone that its strength came from its own hard work. Little gluttonous iron beast, degree. Unfortunately, it couldn't say it now. Sigh, this free strength was too unstable. What I taught you just now is a supervision skill. You can use your spiritual power to activate it. Now, your vision should have been strengthened quite a bit, and you should be able to see clearly at night. Ah? 11 was originally very conflicted, but after hearing that its vision had been enhanced and that it could even see at night, its expression gradually became serious. Woo! 11 rubbed the dark circles on its face and then quickly ran out. It looked at the dark night and gradually became excited. It jumped up excitedly. Great! It was even more convenient to train at night now. It had not worked hard enough previously, and now, it was going to make up for it overnight. At the same time, as the cooldown time of the skill duplication scroll changed to 48 hours, Shiyu slumped onto the bed in despair. He estimated that he would only be able to recover his energy in the morning. Now, all Shiyu wanted was for 11 to stop hitting the steel plate tonight and let him have a good sleep. With this energy, it would be better to keep it for catching earth mice tomorrow. In a certain house in a luxurious neighborhood not far from the Beast Tamer Association in Pingcheng District. When Chen Kai returned home, he was just about to call some people in the class chat group to go hunting ground rats together tomorrow. However, at this moment, a private message popped up in his messaging app. Zhuang Yu, I saw you on the battlefield this afternoon. Chen Kai? Chen Kai, what did you see? Zhuang Yu, I saw enough. The corners of Chen Kai's mouth twitched. He was famous. The image of his classmate Wang Yu's bespectacled face appeared in Chen Kai's mind, and he felt a wave of anger. She saw it. Didn't this mean that all the girls in the class would know? Then, the whole class would know that he was insta-killed by a passerby. Zhuang Yu, do you know the beast tamer of that iron-eating beast? Chen Kai, why? Do you want to learn from him about raising iron-eating beasts? Zhuang Yu, sort of. He left too quickly yesterday. I couldn't keep up. Chen Kai, you've asked the right person. Do you want to fight the Earth Rat? Well, find another beast tamer with a control-type pet. We have enough damage output, no need for more attack types. The next day. At the old place, the Beast Tamer Association's mission hall. Shiyu arrived early, but Chen Kai arrived earlier than him. Didn't sleep well yesterday? When Chen Kai realized that Shiyu had yawned all the way over, he had asked in confusion. I didn't rest well, but it's all right. Although 11 was very obedient and considerate last night, the after effect of teaching mid-level skills was still very strong. However, Shiyu could still accept this state. After all, when he was in his third year of high school, he had been in this state the whole school year. Once he got used to it, he would be more energetic after a while. After all, no matter what, in his student days before transmigration, he had also been a little Superman with good learning, good health, poor sleeping and food, and a comprehensive development of virtue, intelligence, beauty, and labor. This weak state couldn't destroy his willpower at all. You said you were bringing some teammates. Shiyu asked immediately. Not here yet. But it should be soon. After waiting for a while, the person Chen Kai called arrived. It was two girls about his age, both wearing ordinary sportswear. A small round face with glasses and a single ponytail. The other one had a standard oval face. The student had short hair and wasn't short. Shiyu, this is my classmate, Wang Yu. The other is her friend, the beast tamer of experimental high school, Yu Jingjing. Hello. Shi Yu nodded. Hello, Divine One, the two of them said in unison. Shi Yu? What praise was this? It was so awkward. Chen Kai coughed dryly and said, the two of them passed by the battlefield yesterday and saw us fighting. All right, let's each introduce ourselves. Chen Kai didn't want to talk about yesterday's battle anymore, so he quickly changed the topic. My pet is a level 6 ice-armored beast. It has mastered proficient ice-splitting claw and ice armor. My pet is a level 6 iron-eating beast. It has mastered initial level hardening, the round-faced girl, Zhuang Yu, said. With that said, she glanced at Shi Yu. After all, compared to Shi Yu's proficient level in hardening, her pet's initial level was really quite embarrassing. My pet is a level 6 thorny monster. It has a proficient level entanglement skill, the tall girl, Yu Jingjing, said. The thorny monster was a plant-type wood element pet and looked like a snake with long spikes all over its body. It could freely control the thorny branches that it created. The prey that was wrapped around would either die or be crippled. My pet is a level 5 iron-eating beast and has mastered expert-level hardening. Shi Yu also introduced himself. When he finished speaking, the three students felt suffocated. Because the growth level and skill proficiency were really not proportional. This is too exaggerated, Wang Yu couldn't help but say. Shi Yu felt that it was all right. When they saw how diligent 11 was, they would probably understand. Shi Yu looked forward to seeing the look on their faces when the iron-eating beast went through its endless self-discipline training. You guys should hurry up and register for the mission. We leave at 8 sharp, Chen Kai said. 8 a.m. The four of them got on the bus on time and prepared to head to the countryside near Pingcheng. The place they were headed to was called White Stream Village. It was a relatively poor village that was under the jurisdiction of Pingcheng District. The place was mainly agricultural, so it was especially troubled by the existence of creatures such as wind locusts and earth mice. After being in the car for a while, the four people sitting in a row couldn't help but start chatting. Chen Kai was the first to ask Shi Yu. I forgot to ask yesterday. You said you've already graduated, and you aren't even a battle specialization beast tamer? Not a battle specialization? Beside them, Zhuang Yu and Yu Jingjing seemed to have heard some explosive news. It could be so strong even when it wasn't training against professional pets? No, I'm a breeder, Shi Yu said calmly. Compared to battling, cultivating pets was his forte. Fighting and killing were so crude, so being proficient in cultivation was the way to go. It was very reasonable for a professional beast tamer to train a pet to be proficient in hardening. The other three were silent. Chapter 23. Chapter 23, Bamboo Stone Dojo. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. After about an hour, the four of them arrived at White Stream Village. After alighting at the bus stop for the village, they were quickly received by the village committee staff. Although the four of them weren't professional beast tamers, as long as they could come and get rid of the earth mice, White Stream Village would warmly welcome them. As time was tight, the four of them didn't stand on ceremony. After arriving at their destination, they headed straight for the catastrophe area, which was mainly farmland and woods. Outside the endless farmland and woods, Shi Yu and the others were momentarily speechless. Where should they start? In fact, some unintelligent and weaker earth rats had already been killed by the dogs and cats reared by the farmers under their direction. Therefore, they only had to get rid of some relatively high-level and relatively cunning earth element rats. These earth rats had strange movements, were good at concealment, and had strong battle power. They were very difficult to eliminate. Let's summon our pets first, Shi Yu suggested. 11 supervision was the only way to lock onto an earth rat in such a complicated environment. Okay. As Shi Yu finished speaking, the four of them communicated with the beast-taming space and summoned their pets. An iron-eating beast appeared in front of Shi Yu and Zhuang Yu, his ice-armored beast appeared in front of Chen Kai, and a thorny snake appeared in front of Yu Jingjing. Just as she finished summoning her pet, Zhuang Yu's gaze was attracted by 11. Yesterday, she had only observed it from a distance and had not discovered anything. But today, when she looked at it up close, she realized that Shiyu's iron-eating beast had developed perfectly. Be it the color of its hair or its body shape, it appeared very healthy. Excuse me, your iron-eating beast was also obtained from the iron bamboo breeding base. Shiyu nodded. All the iron-eating beasts in the entire Icefield city were probably bred by the iron bamboo breeding base, including Guangyu's. However, Zhuangyu's iron-eating beast was clearly larger than Shiyu's. It was slightly older, so the two iron-eating beasts shouldn't be from the same batch. As they weren't the same batch of cubs, the two iron-eating beasts didn't seem to recognize each other. 11 took a look at the other party and quickly looked away. On the other hand, Chen Kai's ice-armored beast looked at 11 fearfully the whole time. Its body was about to melt. Wait. Zhuangyu suddenly thought of something. Could it be? Are you an apprentice from Bamboo Stone Dojo? This seemed to be the only explanation for how powerful Shiyu was. No, Shiyu shook his head. Bamboo Stone Dojo and Iron Bamboo Breeding Base were one. The owner of the dojo and the owner of the farm were the same person. The Iron Bamboo Breeding Base was the place iron eaters were bred and raised, and the Bamboo Stone Dojo was the place specially designed to nurture beast tamers who signed contracts with iron-eating beasts. The current owner of the Bamboo Stone Dojo was a master-rank beast trainer who cultivated iron-eating beasts. Apart from mastering hardening abilities, his iron-eating beast had also mastered the power of lightning and fire. It had required very special cultivation methods. It could be said that in Icefield City, the beast tamers would definitely say that the beast tamers of Bamboo Stone Dojo were the ones who knew the most about cultivating iron-eating beasts. It was normal for Zhuangyu to suspect that Shiyu was an apprentice of the Bamboo Stone Dojo. Even if Shiyu said that he was a personal disciple of the Bamboo Stone Dojo, she would probably believe him. However, although Shiyu and Bamboo Stone Dojo weren't related now, he would go and seek guidance sooner or later. Well, or maybe they could learn from each other. You aren't? I thought you were definitely a personal disciple of Bamboo Stone Dojo, Zhuangyu laughed. Currently, the most powerful beast tamer in Pingcheng is Hall Master Lin, right? Chen Kai said. From apprentice to professional to master, these ranks were further divided into primary level, intermediate level, and advanced level. The Bamboo Stone Dojo's Hall Master Lin that Chen Kai mentioned was a master rank beast tamer. His strength was ranked among the top, even in the entire Icefield City. I don't know if Hall Master Lin is the most impressive, but his daughter seems to be the youngest professional beast tamer in Pingcheng District. Yu Jingjing said. I think she passed the vocation assessment when she was 18 years old. Later on, I heard that she entered one of the 9 major schools to study. She should have graduated now. I wonder what level she has reached. Your news is outdated. That Lin Xiuzhu later chose the feeding specialization. Now that she has returned to Pingcheng, she was the one who helped me choose my iron-eating beast, Zhuangyu said. Sister Xiuzhu said that she studied this specialization to see if there was any possibility of the iron-eating beast evolving again. I wonder if she succeeded. But I think it's still too difficult. Master Lin has cultivated iron-eating beasts his whole life, but he hasn't been able to find any possibility of them evolving again. I guess this is the limit for the iron-eating beast. Besides, even if we find out, it has nothing to do with us. The iron-eating beast in front of Zhuangyu had dozed off. It was extremely Buddhist and aloof from worldly affairs. Stop chatting. I found the earth mice, said Shiyu. While the few of them were chatting, 11, who used his supervision, had already locked onto an earth rat. Shiyu didn't care whether it could evolve at all. It was fine for now. After being reminded by 11, Shiyu followed its gaze. In a corner of the farmland, a huge rat about 30 centimeters long with no hair and a body made of stone was secretly picking red fruits. Over there. Shiyu pointed over, and the other 3 also looked over. Based on its size, it's probably level 4. Besides, it's alone and doesn't pose much of a threat. The difficult part is how to eliminate it before it reacts and flees. Chen Kai said. The books say that earth mice are very vigilant. Compared to sound and light, they are more sensitive to temperature. When the iron-eating beast and ice-armored beast get close to it, their body temperature will affect them, so they might notice, Yu Jingjing said. I'll let the thorny monster disguise as a plant and approach it first. Let's see if I can get my pet to wrap around it directly. But I wonder if the thorns of the thorny monster can affect its earth shell body. When the time comes, you guys follow up. The other three agree to this strategy. Under Yu Jingjing's orders, her thorny monster started to disguise itself as a plant and slowly crawled on the ground. The thorny monster was indeed very similar to a plant. After all, it was a plant life form. The earth mouse didn't sense it at all. After all, in its eyes, this kind of plant was just food. High-level hunters often appeared in the form of prey. At the same time, 11 and the ice-armored beast also started to prepare for the hunt. Only Duan Yu's iron-eating beast was still at a loss. It widened its eyes under its dark circles and looked over with all its might. Where was the earth mouse? Why couldn't it see it? Ordinary iron-eating beasts were like this. After all, the protective colors of the earth element mouse were too good. Soon, the thorny monster arrived near the earth mouse. It extended a branch covered in spikes and locked onto the earth mouse. Swoosh! The thorny monster let out a fatal entanglement, but none of the earth mouse, which could grow to level 4 in such an environment, was easy to deal with. At the critical moment, the earth mouse sensed danger and was so scared that it threw down the red fruit and ran. Whoosh! It turned and ran. Its speed was very fast as it successfully dodged the attack. Usually, when earth mice came out to look for food, they would dig holes in advance to escape. They wouldn't escape on the spot. As for earth escape, its speed was actually not very fast, so slow that it would have been very easy to be caught. It was better to use an emergency route. After losing the first attack, the thorny monster no longer hid. More branches grew out of its body and flew towards the earth mouse, restricting its movement and speed. At the same time, 11 and the ice-armored beast had already released their full strength. Think you can run? Chen Kai shouted. The ice-armored beast was also good at digging holes. If it was given time, it could even penetrate an iceberg. Even if the earth mouse escaped underground, it wouldn't be impossible to catch it. Of course, the best situation was to kill the earth rat before it approached the hole. However, the ice-armored beast was still a step slower. The earth rat successfully arrived at the entrance of the cave. Just as the earth rat was overjoyed and wanted to enter, 11, who was much faster than the ice-armored beast, descended. In the previous battle, 11 had instantly defeated the ice-armored beast without moving, but this didn't mean that its explosive speed was inferior to that of the ice-armored beast. Boom! From running, 11 quickly overtook the ice-armored beast and caught up to the earth rat. It leaped up and hit the hole the earth rat was about to enter with its hard palm. Like a huge piece of steel falling from the sky, a huge impact was accompanied by dust and mist. A huge pit was directly smashed out of the ground by 11. With its supervision and explosive power, it felt much more agile than yesterday. It discovered the hole a step ahead of the thorny monster and ice-armored beast. 11 showed a proud expression. The earth rat was stunned on the spot. What about its home? After that, the rat was captured with an entanglement. But right now, everyone's focus was on the huge pit beside 11. What kind of power was this? Why did it feel like it had fallen from the sky? The other three people's scalps went numb. They looked at the iron-eating beast cub, which was like a little fatty, and felt that with it around, they could directly go and find trouble with the group of earth rats. Chapter 24. Chapter 24, An Unusual Duo. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. Ordinary people would definitely have a headache dealing with these earth element rats. That was why they were always handing them over to beast tamers, even a group of rookie beast tamers like Shiyu and the others, since the efficiency was extraordinary. The battle power of the earth mouse that had grown some was basically comparable to that of a wild dog. It was very strong. In other words, ordinary people would definitely be afraid of wild dogs even if they had weapons in their hands. But before the current iron-eating beast with battle power and supervision, it could only be said that these earth rats were unlucky. One by one. The earth mouse was glad that it wasn't a bamboo rat. It didn't taste very good, all right? Otherwise, it would definitely be annihilated. But even if it was a bamboo rat, 11 might not be willing to eat it. Due to the evolution of its body, the iron-eating beasts in this world basically didn't like to eat meat anymore. Instead, they loved to eat metal ores, which was quite novel. Shiyu just didn't know if there were any creatures like iron-skinned rats. As the thorny monster put down the earth mouse that had been entangled until it lost its mobility, Yu Jingjing spoke, "This one counts as Shiyu's kill." Without his iron-eating beast, this earth rat would definitely have run away. She had still underestimated the earth mouse's reaction speed. The thorny monster, as a natural hunter, actually couldn't capture the earth mouse at the first moment. It seemed that their level wasn't good enough. Yes. Chen Kai and Zhuang Yu had no objections. The reward for eliminating an earth rat was only about 10 yuan each. Even Shiyu didn't fancy it, let alone students with pretty good family conditions like them. In Shiyu's opinion, if he could get rid of 100 earth rats in a day, he would barely be able to keep above 11's food consumption and the nutritional supplements he'd have to buy. But then again, he wouldn't come here if it was to earn money. Exercising its supervision was the most important thing. Next, we'll act according to what we said in the car. Let's split up, said Shiyu. All right. Chen Kai nodded. Then we'll meet here at noon. This way, the clearing speed would increase a little. After all, this farmland and the whole forest were too big. First, they would split up. When they encountered a lone earth mouse, they would think of ways to deal with it. When they encountered groups of earth mice, they would call everyone and come up with a plan together. When the time came, the efficiency of teamwork would be higher. Let's see who can get rid of more earth rats, Yu Jingjing said. Zhuang Yu looked at her iron-eating beast and fell into deep thought. If they were to compete, she suspected that she would be at the bottom. Why did she feel that her iron-eating beast wasn't even the same species as Shiyu's iron-eating beast? At this point, Zhuang Yu's iron-eating beast had already started to doze off in a daze. Meanwhile, Shiyu's iron-eating beast was still looking around energetically. With good eyesight, everything was pleasing to the eye. With poor eyesight, everything looked like a mosaic. This was 11's current mood. After making the agreement, the four of them separated. The target is 20, before noon, Shiyu said to 11 who was following beside him. Woo! 11 showed a serious expression. No, it wanted to catch 200. It was rare for its eyesight to become so good. It wanted to move around to its heart's content. I don't care how many we catch. Shiyu looked at the huge pit and said, "You are not allowed to destroy other people's crops and fruit trees, do you hear me? Otherwise, not only will we not earn anything, but we will also lose money. Since we don't have much money, we can only deduct it from your side." Sob. 11's face fell, and it looked aggrieved as it dispelled the palm that was hardened already. Life was hard. Let's not train hardening today. The main thing is to train your reflexes. With your physique, you can defeat the earth rat without using any skills. Shiyu heaved a sigh of relief. This fellow could even leave marks on steel plates now. Those fruit trees and crops really wouldn't be able to take it. But no matter how many you catch, the remuneration you receive can all be used to increase your meals. When the rewards and punishments were clearly distinguished, 11's eyes lit up. Then, 11 started galloping wantonly in the field. The middle-aged farmer who was in charge of guarding and patrolling the farm arrived late. He followed behind to count the number of earth rats they had cleared. This group of giant rats was indeed difficult to deal with. It was still all right if they encountered those far away from the hole. With 11's explosive power, he could completely capture their trajectory and quickly knock them out. But when it encountered those near the hole, even though 11 tried very hard, a few of them escaped. It was so angry that it wanted to get Shiyu to teach it earth escape on the spot so that it could directly go underground to catch them. Shiyu was speechless. Didn't you dislike skills that you reaped without sowing? Now he knew that having more skills was a good thing. However, replicating Earth Escape was impossible. With the upper limit of the number of skills recorded in the skill index, every skill had to be chosen carefully. Didn't he see that he was so poor that he was looking for business opportunities with the worm silk skill? If he got the Earth Escape skill, he would have to directly open an underground construction business. Time passed quickly. At noon, Shiyu and 11's battle results were temporarily at 22. On average, they had captured an Earth mouse every 5 minutes. Unfortunately, they didn't encounter groups, or else there would have been even more. At this moment, because 11 was full of energy, it was still looking for Earth rats all over the field. Typical rats didn't rest, so it didn't rest. The other 3 returned feeling dizzy from hunger. Only Shiyu and 11 were still working hard. Damn, you guys are still catching? Chen Kai said in disbelief. After the 3 of them gathered at Shiyu's side, they looked at 11, who was extremely active in the field, and their mentality was slightly affected. It had been more than 2 hours. How was this iron-eating beast still so energetic? Especially Zhuang Yu, who had a strange expression on her face. After all, her iron-eating beast had started to nap not long after it started to move. After all, this is also a form of training. Apart from eating, my iron-eating beast likes to train, Shiyu said after a moment of silence. This is nothing compared to his usual training. The 3 of them. Weren't you in a bad state this morning? Why are you so energetic now? Chen Kai looked at Shiyu blankly. It was fine if the iron-eating beast wasn't tired, as it was a supernatural creature, but why was Shiyu still so energetic? Despite being under the sun for so long, it was as if he had been doing nothing. Shiyu casually took out the refreshing capsule and said, "Want one?" It's pretty useful. The 3 of them were affected even more. After all, when a normal person was tired, they would subconsciously want to rest. But Shiyu relied on supplements to recover? This was too much. I think I know how I lost to this beast tamer from the city. Chen Kai subconsciously imagined the scene of the students in the city staying up late to study medicine. He wasn't afraid that others were more talented than him, but he was afraid that others would work harder than him. Damn it, he had completely lost. Wang Yu looked at 11, who looked completely different from her iron-eating beast in the distance, and asked Shiyu, You guys, how many have you eliminated? What about you guys? Shiyu asked. I have 6, Yu Jingjing said. 7, Chen Kai said. Zhuang Yu sighed. Iron-eating beasts are too stupid. There were only 2 for us. Woo! At this moment, 11 happened to return and caught the key words that the iron-eating beasts were dumb, which it understood. It was immediately unhappy. Don't insult all the iron-eating beasts as one. The physiques between different iron-eating beasts couldn't be compared. Following it was the patrolling farmer who was in charge of cleaning up the battlefield for Shiyu and the others. Don't say that. This little metal-eating beast is the most efficient pet I've ever seen. It caught 22 earth rats in 2 hours. It's very impressive. He had only seen this kind of efficiency on some eagle-type pets. He would have never imagined it from iron-eating beasts. 22? The other 3 couldn't think straight anymore. 22? Not even 12, but 22? Zhuang Yu was also stunned. 11 times her total? Was he kidding? Let's eat lunch and rest first, said Shiyu. They gave up. There was no point in competing anymore. Food was more important. The village committee staff brought them lunch boxes. After eating a little, they still had to continue working. This was also the first request for the 4 of them. But after all, they were here to train, so they just had to make do with lunch. There was no need for a lunch break, just a little rest would do. Then, the 4 of them each took a simple lunch box and started eating, along with cold mineral water. Zhuang Yu's iron-eating beast, Chen Kai's ice-armored beast, and Yu Jingjing's thorny beast were also taken back to the beast-taming space to rest. Only 11 was still outside. After wolfing down a few mouthfuls of the iron bamboo shoot rations in Shiyu's backpack, in order to not waste too much time, it ran to the side to train hard. It felt that its explosive speed was still too slow. Otherwise, it wouldn't have let so many earth rats escape. Letting one run away was equivalent to losing a piece of bamboo. In his grief, 11 started running around the field. This behavior confused Chen Kai and the other two. Looking at the self-disciplined and diligent 11, Zhongyu, Chen Kai, and Yu Jingjing felt their chests tighten. They didn't understand what was going on. Although there was mineral water, they felt that this box lunch was really hard to swallow. They looked at Shiyu, who thought this was very normal. This? Doesn't your iron-eating beast need to rest? Zhongyu asked. This didn't make sense. Iron-eating beasts shouldn't be like this. Back then, she had been picking at the breeding base for so long. Why didn't she see such a lively iron-eating beast? Why else do you think it can master proficiency level hardening? Shiyu was very calm throughout. The three of them were immediately speechless. That made sense. However, beast tamers who carried tonics with them, iron-eating beasts who didn't sleep at noon and practiced sprinting instead. You guys are definitely abnormal. Chapter 25. Chapter 25, Professional Assessment. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. In fact, it was proven that not only was idiocy and laughter contagious, but hard work also had a chance of contagion. After finishing the box lunch and taking a short rest, Chen Kai and the others looked at the iron-eating beast that was still in training and felt a little uneasy. Even the known-to-be lazy iron-eating beast was so hard-working and diligent. If it didn't waste any time, what right did they have to rest? I finally understand why the passing rate of the Beast Tamer Vocation Assessment in the city is so high. Are all the beast tamers in your city so hard-working? And how exactly did you train your pet to be so disciplined? Chen Kai's face twitched. Was the education level in the city really that much higher than in the suburbs? He had never seen such a situation like Shiyu among the beast tamers he'd met. It's not that exaggerated, Shiyu said. It seemed that he had unknowingly increased the three people's views on beast tamers in big cities. Misunderstanding, it was purely a misunderstanding. He brought supplements purely because he was helpless. He didn't want to work so hard either, but the cost of using the skill index was just that high. What could he do? As for 11, it was purely an accident. It had the hard work attribute from the start. It had nothing to do with him. 11 might have belonged to someone else, but was left over for Shiyu to pick up. Back then, only Lin Xiaozhu and he could tell that 11 had extraordinary potential. Lin Xiaozhu had a lot of experience in raising pets, and he purely had the trump card guarantee of the index, so he had confidence in choosing any kind of pet. By chance, an illogical combination of interplay occurred between Shiyu and 11. In any case, there was really no need to learn from them. They were special cases. You mustn't believe what you see with your eyes. You will only run astray. Although that was the case, it was difficult for Shiyu to explain. He couldn't persuade others not to work hard, right? How is it not exaggerated? But it's also good to exaggerate a little. Only then will there be a future. Don't say any more. In the future, I'll request the ice-armored beast to train at this level. Me too. I'll go to the pharmacy tomorrow to buy a box of refreshing capsules and stay up late to study. I don't believe it. They both have 2 arms and 2 legs. I can do it too if I want, Chen Kai said through gritted teeth. He had shamelessly followed Shiyu on this mission because he wanted to see why Shiyu was so strong and find the relevant reasons. Now that he had finally found it, he naturally had to give it a try. Zhongyu and Yu Jingjing looked at each other. Although they didn't say anything, they felt that they had indeed relaxed a little. There was clearly still a lot of time to work hard. Tomorrow, definitely. Shiyu? Were they really going to work so hard? Then he wished them success. It wasn't a bad thing to be hardworking anyway. Shiyu was very pleased that his excellent quality could affect others. Shiyu, Are you going to take part in the Professional Beast Tamer assessment? By the way, are you going to take the nursing specialization, or are you going to take the Professional Feeder assessment? Chen Kai asked. Well, a Professional Beast Tamer was the traditional Beast Tamer promotion route. It tested the battle power of the Beast Tamer. The assessment for professional feeders was the Beast Tamer's level of raising and cultivation level, so most of the work would be done at the farm. The higher level ones could work alone, help other Beast Tamers take care of their pets, and even give birth to related occupations such as skill teachers and evolution planners. Logically speaking, Shiyu should be a breeding specialist, and he even had the index. He would definitely earn a lot of money in the future by taking the Professional Feeder assessment. However, his second talent was really strange. Shiyu was really afraid of being caught and cut into pieces after being exposed. Although this country was also a society governed by law now, there was clearly a hierarchy between high-level beast tamers and ordinary people. From the fact that there wasn't even a relatively fair promotion route like the college entrance examination, it could be seen that this world's monopoly was very serious. In some public battles, there were also cases of beast tamers scheming against each other. It was very dangerous for sects to compete and countries to get involved. Besides, there were also some highly intelligent transcendent creatures eyeing the human area. He didn't want to lose his freedom. Shiyu thought about it. If the teaching method of the skill index couldn't be changed, he definitely wouldn't use this talent to teach other people's pet skills before he had strong self-preservation abilities. Even if it was a slightly intelligent wild creature, he wouldn't teach it. Unless it was a pet with almost no intelligence like the green silkworm. After teaching it, the green silkworm would not even know what happened. That way, there would be no safety hazards. In short, only a pet that had signed a soul contract with him could be taught by Shiyu safely. Therefore, Shiyu felt that it was better to take the Professional Beast Tamer assessment first to increase his own battle power. Some outstanding beast tamers could teach themselves skills outside of their pets. For example, many iron-eating beasts in the Bamboo Stone Dojo could master thunder and fire skills. It was even possible for some talented rare wild pets to master skills outside their own species. For example, the wolf kings of the Snow Wolf Pack basically all had deterrent skills. Even though this kind of cross-species skill teaching was very ridiculous, it was relatively common in higher-level beast tamer domains. It wasn't impossible. Although, there had never been a teaching talent that could teach pet skills the moment it was touched. Besides, he was a transmigrator with 2 talents at the beginning. In other words, it was a dangerous situation. In this relatively dangerous world, strength was the foundation of everything. It was always right to increase one's strength first. Although I'm in the breeding specialization, I want to prepare for the Beast Tamer assessment first, Shiyu said. His answer immediately attracted the interest of Chen Kai and the other 2. Chen Kai said, "Let me calculate. Next one. No, the next one, right? I think, maybe we can still go together." The Beast Tamer assessment was held on January 1st, once a year. It was already July, there was less than half a year left until the next assessment started. Shiyu's iron-eating beast was currently at level 5, while Chen Kai's ice-armored beast was at level 6. This level didn't meet the professional assessment criteria. To qualify in the first round of the Beast Tamer assessment, the minimum requirement was for the Beast Tamer's pet to have transcendent battle power. This was the level after awakening level 10. Half a year later, their pets would barely reach level 10, let alone the transcendent level. Therefore, Chen Kai subconsciously judged that Shiyu, like him, intended to participate in the next assessment. However, "If I don't pass the next assessment, I can join you in the next one," Shiyu said seriously. If he didn't have a follow-up source of income, his little savings wouldn't be able to last 1.5 years. Therefore, getting a professional certificate as soon as possible could also reduce the economic pressure on Shiyu. He planned to directly participate in the next vocation assessment half a year later. Chen Kai was confused. "But isn't your iron-eating beast just at level 5? Wouldn't it be a little difficult to reach the transcendent level in half a year?" Things like growth levels were naturally harder to increase the further one went. The bottleneck from the awakening stage to the transcendent level. Just look at how many creatures were stuck at that stage, after all. The transformation from mortal to transcendent depended entirely on whether one could cross this gate. It's all right. It might be a little difficult to reach the transcendent level, but awakening to level 10 shouldn't be a problem. As long as it continuously strengthened 11's racial skills, its growth level would also advance. Shiyu felt that it shouldn't be a big problem to reach level 10 in half a year. It was even very likely that it would be transcendent. Even if one couldn't reach the transcendent level, it wasn't impossible to participate in the vocation assessment at the awakening level. Those with strength had always had special privileges. Chen Kai realized something. You're talking about the special assessment? The one where you challenge someone of a higher level? The other two girls had also heard of it. For some genius beast tamers and pets with higher racial levels, there was a special criterion for the vocation assessment. That was, although its growth level had not reached the transcendent level, it could defeat real transcendent level creatures while at the awakening stage. A pet with transcendent battle power and its beast tamer could also participate in the subsequent vocation assessment. Yes, the one where you can challenge those at a higher level. If you can't reach the transcendent level, you can take this route. Shiyu smiled. Wouldn't it be easy for pets with high proficiency in skills and high-leveled skills to skip levels to challenge those above them? At this point, Chen Kai also understood. For an iron-eating beast that could master proficient racial skills at level 5. It was indeed not difficult for it to challenge someone above its level. He had already been surpassed. As Chen Kai thought about it, he felt a little regretful for asking so much. He was losing his mind. Their beasts were at such different levels. After returning, the training intensity of the ice-armored beast must be super doubled. In the eyes of the three, Shiyu was still very mysterious and powerful. It was just that they didn't know if Shiyu could really pass the vocation assessment in the next batch. Chapter 26. Chapter 26, Beast Tide. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. After the few of them rested, which wasn't for too long now that they'd been infected by 11, they decided to continue capturing Earth rats as training. For the sake of their future, they could only let the Earth rats suffer. However, before they could start, the loudspeaker of White Stream Village's village committee suddenly sounded. The broadcast was loud, and Shiyu and the others, who were far away from the center of the village, heard it clearly. At that moment, when they heard the contents of the broadcast, the expressions of Shiyu and the others changed. Attention all villagers! Attention all villagers! The city has issued a yellow warning alarm for a beast tide. I repeat, the city has issued a yellow warning alarm for the beast tide. There's already a certain scale of ferocious beasts gathering inside the city wall, and the scale is showing signs of increasing. Please make the corresponding preparations according to the defense guidelines. What the F***CK? Surrounded by the voices of the others, Chen Kai couldn't help but vent his emotions. Zhuang Yu and Yu Jingjing also clearly looked confused and nervous. Beast tide? The few of them weren't unfamiliar with the term. 10 years ago, Pingcheng district was rebuilt precisely because it had encountered a beast tide. At that time, although everyone was still young, it was impossible for them to not know about such things. The beast tide came again? Not good. While the four of them were stunned, the middle-aged farmer patrolling the farm came to their side. Children, today's situation is special. Why don't you go back first? Uncle, what about the broadcast just now? Shiyu asked. I'm not sure either, but the animals on the snow mountain are probably restless again. Yellow warning. Sounds pretty serious. If things escalate, we might have to evacuate. The middle-aged man couldn't figure it out either, but judging from his expression, he wasn't that flustered. At this moment, Shiyu also reacted. Indeed, it wasn't time to panic yet. Unlike 10 years ago, high city walls had already been built between Pingcheng and the dozen or so towns and snow mountains below. The Beast Tamer troops of the Beast Tamer Association was stationed outside the city wall and was the first line of defense against a beast tide. The so-called warning was only to warn the surrounding townspeople. It didn't mean that there was really danger. If there really was a danger of them breaking into the city, it wouldn't be as simple as a yellow disaster warning. Why don't we go over and take a look? Chen Kai suggested. Icefield City was located at the border of the country, and the subordinate Pingcheng and the surrounding towns were even adjacent to the snow mountains filled with ferocious beasts. This was also why only Pingcheng and the surrounding 2 districts had been the first to bear the brunt of the beast tide 10 years ago. What are you thinking? At a time like this, there must be barricades both inside and outside the city walls. Wouldn't you be causing trouble if you went? Zhuang Yu said. Let's go back first, said Shi Yu. Although he felt that nothing would happen, the atmosphere at this time was tense. It was better not to cause trouble for others by leisurely playing Earth Mouse. Whack-a-mole could be done any time. It was more important to understand the Beast Tide early warning after returning to the Beast Tamer Association. The other 3 nodded. They didn't have much desire to fight the Earth Mouse now. After packing up, they quickly returned to Pingcheng. Icefield City, Pingcheng District, Beast Tamer Association. After the few of them ended the Earth Mouse mission, they explained the warnings of White Stream Village to the staff at the front desk of the mission hall and asked what was going on. This? The staff at the front desk shook his head and said, I'm not too sure either. But this doesn't seem to be the first time this month. The previous 2 times were blue warnings. Is it yellow this time? Towards this answer, Shi Yu and the others appeared very confused. This was equivalent to saying nothing. Chen Kai was about to ask something when someone called his name from afar. Chen Kai, Zhuang Yu. The voice came from afar, making Chen Kai and Zhuang Yu shiver. They subconsciously turned their heads. Shi Yu and Yu Jingjing also looked over and realized that an honest-looking, bespectacled beast tamer had entered. The other party was only in his 30s, but his hair looked a little sparse. He should be an expert. Teacher Zhong, Chen Kai and Zhuang Yu said. Why are you here? This person was a teacher from Chen Kai and Zhuang Yu's school. I was nearby. I just saw you guys chatting in the group chat, so I came over to take a look. I didn't expect to bump into you guys. On the way back, Chen Kai and Zhuang Yu had shared the yellow warning of the beast tide with their classmates in the class group chat. They didn't expect the teacher to see it. So you guys actually chat in a class group with teachers? Shi Yu looked at the group of strange students and thought to himself. Under normal circumstances, shouldn't it be that students didn't bring their teachers along and created a group to play alone? If you guys did this, it wouldn't be as natural to talk in the group. These 2 are? The person addressed as Teacher Zhong looked at Shi Yu and Yu Jingjing. Chen Kai said, they are my friends, beast tamers from other schools. Teacher Zhong smiled and nodded. You must be wondering about the beast tide warning. Yeah, teacher, is the situation serious this time? Don't tell me the same thing is happening again. Chen Kai knew that his teacher was a professional beast tamer and should know more inside information, so he had immediately asked. It's too noisy here. Let's talk outside, Teacher Zhong said. None of them had any objections. They left the mission hall and started to circle the buildings around the Beast Tamer Association. Although he didn't know this Teacher Zhong, Shi Yu, who wanted to know the situation, also went with them. If there really was danger, he had to make preparations in advance and escape to the city with 11. After all, the houses around the city center would get expensive after the tide. Building houses in the countryside or even in the suburbs might be cheap, but it was also close to the wilderness. It was too dangerous. On the stone path, Teacher Zhong looked at the group of young children and said, you don't have to worry too much. It's already very different from 10 years ago. The protective facilities around the snow mountain are doing very well. Even if there's really any danger, the Beast Tamer Association will be able to react quickly. If the Pingcheng group isn't strong enough to defend, the beast tamers in the city will naturally come over. If the beast tamer troops in the city can't defend it, the troops in the surrounding cities will also provide support soon after. At present, the creatures on this snow mountain are no longer enough to pose a threat to Icefield City. Chen Kai asked, "So, teacher, you mean that the beast tide might appear again?" At the moment, it's only a small-scale gathering of ferocious beasts. It's far inferior to the sudden change 10 years ago. It was much greater then. Ron Yu said, "Why is it happening? Aren't those ferocious beasts all ice element creatures? Compared to cities, they probably prefer the environment of the snow mountains. The books say that the lack of food and resources creates pressure from competing over them and is the main reason for the beast tide's appearance." Shiyu looked in the direction of the snow mountain. But this shouldn't be the main reason for the snow mountain beast tide, right? After all, beast tides with this kind of reason are usually very frequent. There are signs, and it wouldn't suddenly happen like 10 years ago. Teacher Zhong looked at Shiyu and nodded. That's right. But we don't know exactly why. The trigger of the beast tide 10 years ago is still an unsolved mystery. But in terms of speculation, the answer is within Icefield City. Do you know the history of the city? They shook their heads. Actually, it's not history. After all, it hasn't been completely proven. At the moment, it's just a guess. According to archaeological discoveries, there shouldn't be any snow mountain environments around Icefield City from 2,000 years ago. This was the territory of a rather developed beast tamer tribe in an ancient country at that time. But later, an ice dragon flew over from afar and landed on the surrounding mountain range. This ice dragon was very strong. Even if it only lived in the surroundings, it had indirectly triggered the descent of a mini ice age, making this beast tamer tribe suffer indescribably. Then, this beast tamer tribe decided to expel the ice dragon. They formed an army and started a protracted war with the ice dragon in the mountain range. It's said that this snow mountain was formed at that time. Shiyu asked, "Which side won?" Teacher Zhong said, "It should be the beast tamer tribe that won. There's an ice dragon ruin on the snow mountain. It said that the skeleton of the ice dragon was sealed inside. It was sealed by the beast tamers back then. Even now, there is still dragon aura coming from the ruins from time to time, but it's been 2,000 years. Even that ice dragon should have completely died. There's speculation at the moment that the sealed ice dragon turned into a spirit and influenced those ferocious beasts in the snow mountain. The dragon's aura is thus causing the ferocious beasts to lose their minds and take revenge on the city." Shiyu and the others looked in the direction of the snow mountain again. An ice dragon undead? This was the first time they had heard of this. Teacher Zhong pointed at a stone giant statue not far ahead and said, "Do you see that? That's one of the ancient artifacts excavated by archaeologists. It's said that the stone giant is the totem of that tribe." As they chatted, they had already arrived at a huge park. In the center of the garden was a stone giant statue. The stone giant was an elemental extraordinary life form. It was another type of pet. It was placed here to increase the historical heritage of the Pingcheng district and make this place look more historical. That tribe used this thing to defeat the ice dragon? Chen Kai looked at the stone statue. He hadn't noticed this thing before. He had thought it was a decoration, but he didn't expect it to be an ancient item from Icefield City. Shiyu and company's gazes were all on the stone giant statue. As they stared, Shiyu's heart suddenly accelerated. His brain rumbled, and his telepathy talent seemed to have taken effect passively. He heard a strange voice. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. This sudden voice made Shiyu shudder. However, when he looked around, he realized that there was nothing unusual with Teacher Zhong, Chen Kai, and the others. Suppressing the shock in his heart, Shiyu looked back at the stone statue. His face turned pale. Please don't tell me that the voice came from this stone statue. What's happening to me? This stone statue didn't have any sign of life at all. Wasn't telepathy only able to hear the thoughts of living beings? If the stone statue wasn't normal, it wouldn't be placed here. It wasn't like that. Shiyu could still hear the voice. Chapter 27. Chapter 27, Listening to the Voice of History. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. Shiyu was certain that he had heard a voice. And that feeling was the same as when he used telepathy. As he searched, he locked onto the source of the sound. It was definitely the stone statue. However, no matter how he looked at it, this stone statue didn't look like an extraordinary life form. This was just an ordinary stone statue made according to the appearance of the stone giant. Could it be that it had become a spirit? Impossible. If it had evolved into a transcendent life form, it would have long been noticed by other beast tamers. There was a lot of traffic here. In a place like the Beast Tamer Association, high-level beast tamers could be seen everywhere. There were also a bunch of beast tamers with talent in telepathy. A wild transcendent creature couldn't be hidden. This stone statue had been here for at least a few years. After the voice disappeared, Shiyu continued to observe. He observed for a moment and still didn't discover anything. This was just an ordinary stone statue, and the material was also very ordinary stone. Logically speaking, it should be impossible to communicate with such an inanimate object through telepathy. This was common knowledge that had been passed down for a very long time. Unless, there were still unknown ways to use telepathy. Teacher Zhong smiled and said to them, "That's all. I have something to do later, so I'll leave first. You don't have to think too much. You don't have to worry about the beast tide. Even if that legendary ice dragon revives, our beast tamers can take it on." In ancient times, dragons were unreachable creatures, but in modern times, dragon tamers had long become a profession. Although they were rare, they weren't that hard to find. "All right, thank you, Teacher Zhong," Chen Kai said. Shiyu also thanked him. Then, after the few of them said goodbye, Teacher Zhong left, leaving Shiyu and the others looking at each other. "Then, are we going back to hunt earth rats?" Chen Kai asked. "No, let's talk about it in the future," Shiyu said. "I also suddenly remembered I had something to do." "Are you in a hurry?" "You can eat before you leave. It's urgent." Initially, Chen Kai and the others wanted to have dinner with Shiyu before leaving. However, since Shiyu left in a hurry, the four of them departed soon after. In the end, Chen Kai and the others didn't even get Shiyu's contact information. It couldn't be helped. Shiyu didn't have a cell phone. This thing was more than 10 times more expensive than on Earth, so he couldn't afford one for the time being. If Chen Kai wanted to look for Shiyu, he could only leave a message at the Beast Tamer Association. The difference between the two worlds was that it was very difficult to buy pandas, tigers, and elephants on Earth, but it was very easy to buy common technological products. However, in this world, the full price of an iron-eating beast wasn't even as expensive as the property prices in the city, but the technological products were much more expensive. After the few of them separated, Shiyu went straight to Pingcheng District's library to check on some information. Unfortunately, even until evening, he didn't find what he wanted to know. However, although he couldn't find what he was looking for, it made Shiyu understand this world better. The history of this world could roughly be divided into 3 eras. The Mythical Era, the Totem Era, and the Beast Tamer Era. The Mythical Era was said to be the era when the earliest batch of mythical creatures born in the world ruled the planet. The Totem Era was the era where humans were born and survived under the territories of powerful creatures in various ways. The Beast Tamer Era was the era when humans began to master the ability to control beasts. This Beast Tamer Era could also be divided into ancient and modern generations. The turning point was more than 100 years ago when 7 human countries jointly established an alliance. It was a very simple division of 3 eras. However, due to some special reasons, there were many gaps in the history of this world. For example, why the first batch of mythical creatures had collectively disappeared was a historical enigma that had happened at an unknown time. And what happened in Icefield City 2,000 years ago was clearly a history that the people of today had yet to fully explore. After coming out of the library, Shiyu kept repeating to himself, "I shouldn't be too curious, I shouldn't be curious, I shouldn't be curious." He forced himself not to think about these things. This was his old habit again. In his previous life, Shiyu was an archaeologist. Later on, due to some special reasons, he had come into contact with an unknown mythical system. Out of curiosity, he had changed his profession to mythical scholar. Then, going to various ruins, ancient sites, and exploring this unknown mythical system with his teacher became his daily routine. Then, he had died. During an exploration, they had encountered an accident. They had encountered a mountain collapse and were buried alive. Then, they transmigrated here. Curiosity kills. Shiyu recalled that he had been obsessed with researching the history of the unknown mythical system back then and wanted to slap himself. Wasn't it better for shut-ins to just play games and watch anime? Why would they go to all kinds of dangerous places to investigate and research for no reason? In short, now that he had transmigrated to this more dangerous world, Shiyu only wanted to live more comfortably within a safe range. He had to enjoy this life. Although the history of this world seemed to have more mysteries and had a more realistic mythology system, it was definitely impossible for him, Shiyu, to walk the same path as in his previous life. Impossible! In the garden area of the Beast Tamer Association of Pingcheng, under the stone giant statue. At this point, the sky was already dark, and there was basically no one else in the park. Shiyu looked at the stone statue under the moonlight and asked, "Were you the one speaking during the day? You were refuting the history recount of that teacher." It wasn't like that. No matter how one looked at it, it seemed to be refuting what that teacher Zhong said, but only Shiyu heard this refutation. "Big Brother Stone, say something." Shiyu used his telepathy to communicate with the stone statue. However, unlike during the day, the stone statue didn't react at all. "If you don't say anything, I'm leaving." The stone statue was still indifferent. Shiyu fell silent. Could it be that he had been hallucinating or something? He recalled how he felt when he looked at the stone statue in the afternoon. At that time, he had just finished listening to the history described by Teacher Zhong and was curious about that history. As Teacher Zhong had said that that piece of history was only speculation and had not been verified, when Shiyu looked at the stone statue, his subconscious thought was wanting to know what the real history was. It was then that he heard the stone statue's voice. "Tell me." As Shiyu stared at the stone statue, he subconsciously recalled his trip to various ruins, researching ancient artifacts, and exploring the truth of history. "Tell me. I can return history to the truth." At this moment, Shiyu's thoughts were clear. He really wanted to make this historical truth public. At this moment, he didn't want to listen to the voice of the stone statue, but to listen to the voice of history. He believed that his current state was already extremely similar to this afternoon's. At this moment, he activated his telepathy and searched for the feeling from the afternoon. It seemed like his brain was rumbling. Boom! The voice came, and the boom directly made Shiyu's scalp tingle. But this voice clearly didn't come mentally but had exploded in his ears instead. He looked up and opened his mouth, because the sky seemed to have suddenly trembled. Crack! Then, Shiyu was attracted by the stone statue again. This time, the stone statue indeed made a sound, but it was the sound of cracking. Under his gaze, the stone statue directly cracked from top to bottom. F***ck, something happened. Shiyu turned and left. He swore that if he touched his old profession again, he would be a dog. That career was too dangerous, even more dangerous than being a beast tamer. 11. Save me. Chapter 28. Chapter 28, Rumbling Icefield City. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. Union Calendar, July 177. The recent abnormality of the Snow Mountain's ferocious beasts had made the various beast tamer associations in Icefield City extremely alert. In particular, the various professional beast tamers of the Beast Tamer Association in Pingcheng District had long entered a battle-ready state. 10 years ago, the beast tide had already heavily injured Pingcheng's vitality. The various parties in Icefield City had spent a lot of manpower and resources to rebuild Pingcheng. This time, no matter what, they couldn't let the ferocious beasts get past the city wall and cause destruction again. In this state, beast tamers were naturally very sensitive to the commotion outside. Boom! It was during such an emergency period that a huge vibration came from the sky above Pingcheng, causing the taut string in the hearts of some beast tamers to snap with a crack. F***CK, the beast tide is attacking the city? Why isn't there any news at all? On the bright side, it might just be an earthquake. What exactly happened? The sound had been very loud. Not only the beast tamers, even ordinary people had heard it clearly. Everyone subconsciously walked out of the house and looked outside. However, it was just a loud vibrating sound. After that, there were no other abnormalities. On the top floor of the tall headquarters of the Beast Tamer Association in Ping City, a middle-aged man in a grey suit stood there. He looked up at the mirror-like sky and fell into deep thought. President, what was that just now? The associations in the other districts, counties, and cities also sensed the abnormality. The door of the top floor opened, and a tall secretary walked over anxiously. The impact of that commotion on Icefield City was unexpectedly huge. Even other areas sensed slight changes. The president in the grey suit said, "I've only heard of this situation before. I'm not sure if it's what I'm guessing. Even so, it might not be a bad thing." The entire Icefield City was shaken to different degrees. Even the changes here were gradually spreading out of the city to other places. At this moment, the protagonist who caused this incident had already returned home nervously. He wore an apron and started eating. 11. Eat more. Grow up quickly. This world is too strange. You have to become stronger to protect us. The little metal-eating beast received the pile of bamboo shoots blankly. Although it didn't know what had happened, Shiyu was being surprisingly generous today. Great! At home, Shiyu naturally didn't know about the situation outside, but as he listened to the discussions of passers-by on the way, he kept feeling that things weren't that simple. The commotion was too big. Ah, Shiyu, your mouth is so annoying. Why were you chatting with a rock? Now, something was wrong. Before figuring out what was going on, Shiyu decided to stay at home obediently. Apart from buying groceries and medicine, he didn't go anywhere else. Gee! When Shiyu made up his mind, a cry came from the persimmon tree beside him. When the green silkworm in the birdcage saw that Shiyu had given the iron-eating beast so much delicious food today, it immediately made a hungry request. You should eat more too. Only when you become fat can you spit out more silk. Shiyu then got a pile of leftovers for the green silkworm. Finally seeing some food, it ate happily. It was much easier to serve than 11. Sigh, I finished preparing dinner for them. Let's sleep first. It's been a tiring day. After teaching supervision yesterday, he had still yet to recover from the after effects. Now that that had happened, it really made him dispirited. He planned to sleep first. Tomorrow might be a more hopeful day. After he recovered, he would teach 11 more skills and quickly strengthen its battle power. Race the Iron Eater. Attribute, Metal. Race level, Medium Transcendent. Level of growth, Level 5 Awakening. Skills, Hardening, Expert, High-Speed Healing, Initial, Supervision, Initial. At present, 11 stats were still satisfactory to Shiyu. Among the 6 skills he had collected, there was still Deterrence and Absolute Sleep that he had never taught. Both of these were high-level skills, so the consumption would definitely be greater. Shiyu planned to wait for a while before deciding. Next should mainly be to strengthen the already mastered skills. The next day, Shiyu recuperated. In order to make use of all the resources, he released the green silkworm from the birdcage and assigned it a mission under its confused expression. You're in charge of training 11 today. A good sparring partner can have an extra meal. Shiyu had divided the courtyard into 2 areas. The green silkworm occupied one side, while 11 occupied the other. After getting the green silkworm's worm silk into the proficient level, this worm silk could now actually be used in many ways. For example, worm silk ray. This technique involved the green silkworm condensing a worm silk about the length of a finger in front of it and then shooting it out like an arrow, almost like a hidden weapon. Although with its current power, it couldn't even penetrate the clothes Shiyu bought from a street stall, but its speed was acceptable. The worm silk could go from one end of the courtyard to the other with a whoosh. In addition, the green silkworm that had mastered super worm silk could also fire continuously, shooting the worm silk like a dense rain of arrows. Shiyu had obviously arranged it this way because he wanted to make use of the worm silk to let 11 continue training its supervision. Whether it was dodging the tiny and inconspicuous high-speed shots or accurately judging the landing point, it was a good training method for 11 who had to harden the area in advance. Most importantly, the commotion was small. Shiyu knew that the green silkworm's intelligence wasn't high, so he tried his best to communicate with it through telepathy. He even gave various examples. Green silkworm at. In the end, Shiyu didn't know if it understood, but 11 did anyway. Howl. 11 clearly felt that this was a good training method. It directly pulled the green silkworm out and let it train with it. How could it sleep in the birdcage every day? The meaning of life is training. Let's do it together. Gee! The green silkworm let out an innocent cry. Following that, Shiyu went out with a smile to buy groceries. During this process, he inquired about yesterday's situation. Although he still didn't know what was going on, it was said that many affairs of the Beast Tamer Association in Pingcheng had already been suspended at the moment and were heavily sealed. He couldn't do any missions like hunting earth rats now. Shiyu panicked a little. If the stone statue in the garden shattered, it would definitely be noticed. It wouldn't lead back to him in the end, right? There weren't many people around there at the time, and cameras weren't popular in this world, so it shouldn't be. However, Shiyu didn't dare to make any guarantees. After all, this was a world with extraordinary powers. Before knowing what had happened, he didn't dare to surrender himself. He could only continue to pretend that he didn't know anything. On this day, the Beast Tamer Association presidents from all districts and counties in Icefield City came to Pingcheng. In a certain valley in Pingcheng district, the 9 master-ranked beast tamers of different ages looked at the spatial door formed by the cracks spreading down from the sky, their expressions carrying some surprise. It's indeed a mystic realm space. It can also be said to be an ancient ruin space. Apart from these 9 people, there was also a 10th person present. The youngest of the 9 master-ranked beast tamers was also above 30 years old. Unlike them, the 10th person present was very young. It was a woman in her early 20s with short brown hair. She was wearing a white shirt, a black short skirt, and a knee-length white research suit. At this moment, her expression was cold, and her gaze under the glasses was especially serious and focused. Dr. Liu, what do you think? The people were speaking very respectfully to her. Lu Qingyi said, I once tried to decipher the Ice Dragon ruins, but I failed. The information I have now is still too little. I can't figure out the truth from the place. Now that this ruin has appeared, perhaps the things inside can provide more information. By the way, did anything else happen in Pingcheng when the ruins descended yesterday? The president of the Beast Tamer Association of Pingcheng said, an ancient stone statue in the garden area of our association collapsed. The stone giant statue? Yes. Lu Qingyi's expression didn't change, but she made a judgment in her heart. From the looks of it, this ruined space didn't descend by accident, instead, someone had touched the echoes of history. Did another special talent in telepathy that could listen to the voice of history appear? Who could it be? Chapter 29. Chapter 29, Warmth from the Community. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. The commotion in Pingcheng was not small, so Shiyu tried his best to keep a low profile. Stable development, don't be reckless. 2 days ago, Shiyu had planned to first teach the worm silk skill to perfected proficiency before selling the worm silk to earn money. After all, the green silkworm didn't have a long lifespan. It might die any day. But now, he changed his mind. It was better to increase 11's battle power first. After all, his life was very short as well, and he might die any day. Wasn't there a saying about how you should use your money as you get it? How sad would it be if he died without spending the money he saved? Strength was the most important. And so, he'd use his points on 11 and make it stronger. After recovering from the weakness of teaching his supervision, Shiyu used the skill index again without another word. This time, he decided to continue teaching the supervision skill. Through the second teaching of supervision, he successfully raised 11's level of the skill to proficient. During this process, 11's mental strength also improved a little. The increase in skill proficiency also led to the growth of the pets. As for which aspect of growth it led to, it was related to the attributes of the skills. At this moment, the benefits of 11's increase in mental strength could not only allow it to maintain its supervision for a longer period of time, but also allow it to stay up late as well as make its opponent's movement slower in its eyes. That night, Shiyu held his chin under the moonlight and half-heartedly looked at 11, who was seriously training. Suddenly, he called out to his pet and asked, "11, how do you last so long?" Every time he saw this little metal-eating beast training hard, Shiyu himself wanted to work hard in Simpatico to upgrade his beast-taming space and increase his beast command abilities. However, he really didn't have 11's focus and couldn't hold on at all. Every few hours, he would want to do something else. Well, it was just like when he did homework in his previous life. Instead, he ran around the world and explored various ruins. He liked dynamic work. However, liking it was one thing. Now, Shiyu was forcing himself to be more honest. He had already gotten out of the relatively safe environment on Earth. In this world where danger was everywhere, staying in a city wasn't safe, let alone in the wild. Gulp tilde? Upon hearing Shiyu's question, 11 stopped and leaned against the tree, feeling hungry. Then, she fainted from exhaustion. Shiyu covered his forehead helplessly. He couldn't help but praise, but this was very normal. Almost all of the training sessions would end with 11 fainting from exhaustion. Now that it had another skill, supervision, that consumed spiritual power to train, it was undoubtedly easier for it to fall asleep. Sigh. Shiyu went to the kitchen to get some spare bamboo shoots. Then, he pried open 11's mouth and stuffed the bamboo shoots in. Crack! 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 11, who was sleeping, finished eating while sleeping. He was very talented. After eating, it turned over with a happy face and crawled up with difficulty to continue training. Stop! Shiyu pushed 11 towards the bathroom. Next, Shiyu spent a lot of effort to clean 11 up before forcefully putting it back into the beast-taming space to rest. As for himself, he also laid on the bed and fell asleep. Damn it, I'm so tired. The sun rose as usual the next day. The sun rose as usual on the third day. The fourth day, the world was still at peace. Just like that, after chatting with the stone statue about the changes in the historical record, Shiyu had already stayed close to his house for a week. Apart from supervision, during this period, Shiyu taught 11 high-speed healing and hardening. Now, it had an invincible combination of skills with proficient-level high-speed healing, proficient-level supervision, and expert-level hardening. Shiyu really wanted to see how 11, who was only at the 5th level of awakening, could defeat opponents who were several levels higher than it after going all out. But considering that an opponent was difficult to find, he decided to forget it for the time being. It was better to continue developing. After thinking about it, Shiyu left home to buy supplements nearby. As he was a regular customer, the young doctor in the pharmacy was already used to it. Without needing Shiyu to say anything, he took the initiative to run to the counter to get his medicine. Friend, control yourself. Even I'm afraid of your purchase frequency. I think I'm pretty restrained, Shiyu said as he took the supplement. At least he hadn't courted death by trying to teach high-level skills. He was afraid that the tonic in this pharmacy wouldn't be enough. Well, I suppose, the young doctor nodded and then said with a strange expression, I heard the day before yesterday that a student directly carried a few boxes of supplements back to the pharmacy in the south of the city. That person is much crazier than you. Shiyu had just put away the supplement when his hand suddenly trembled. F*CK, a few boxes? He was so ruthless. Don't tell him that the student's name was Chen Kai. The students these days are too complicated. Shiyu sighed and said, by the way, why was the association sealed off recently? Have they investigated the cause of the loud bang in the sky? The young doctor smiled and said, you've asked the right person. Let me tell you, although the exact situation hasn't been announced yet, it's very likely that our Pingcheng is about to take off. Ooh? Tell me more. After coming to buy medicine many times, Shiyu had learned that this young doctor was also a beast tamer, an apprentice ranked 1. Therefore, the other party was also quite concerned about the event. According to sources, a mystic realm might have appeared, the young doctor said. Mystic realm? What's that? The young doctor said, you can understand it as another alternate space independent of our current space. For example, our beast-taming space can actually be considered an independent alternate space. Well, let me put it this way. The predecessor of the mystic realm is actually the beast-taming space. Continue, Shiyu pressed. It had been a week. There was finally news? He had waited so long. Now, it didn't sound like a crisis. Otherwise, this doctor wouldn't be so excited. For the past few days, the cowardly Shiyu had thought that he had released some monster, like some mythical one that could cause the sky to crack. How should I put it? There's a saying that after a beast tamer dies, the beast taming space will also collapse. But after some powerful beast tamers die, the beast taming space may be preserved. Under the will of the beast tamer, it will form an independent mystic realm space. It can also be said to be a small world. At this time, the mystic realm space no longer has the effect of binding extraordinary creatures. It's already a completely independent space. Any living creature can enter it. The environment inside, according to the degree of development of the beast tamer when they were alive, would still be suitable for the growth of individual pets. It's just that compared to the beast taming space, it's slightly weaker. But even if it's weakened, it's still a treasure land, with abundant energy, suitable for the growth of spiritual plants and pets. A powerful beast tamer's beast taming space? Shiyu asked. An ancient beast tamer? Well, it must be from the ancient times. If it were our current level system, that beast tamer would have at least legendary level strength. Apprentice, professional, master, legend. Legends were even above masters. If it's really a mystic realm space, there must be a lot of rare resources or pets inside. Even if there's nothing, it's still a treasure land that can produce high-value resources for a long time. Now that this thing has appeared in Pingcheng, our gains here will definitely be the greatest. If it's developed properly, maybe the economy can develop very quickly. What if the pets inside are very strong and ferocious? Shiyu asked. After all this discussion, there might still be monsters inside. The young doctor answered, there's no news of this at the moment, but we definitely don't have to worry about this kind of thing. Even if there are big shots, they can handle it appropriately. Shiyu left. He left, feeling at peace. Because from the information obtained from the young doctor, the cracking of the stone statue didn't seem to be a bad thing. However, why did he summon a mystic realm when he was just chatting with the ancient stone statue? This had nothing to do with the truth of history. Or was there information related to the true history of the icy plains in the mystic realm? But no matter what, it had nothing to do with him anymore. I'm sorry, Big Brother Stone. Although I promised you to return history to the truth, judging from the current situation, I can't get close to that mystic realm at all. Sorry, I made you crack. It had already been a week. When Shiyu returned home, he looked at 11 and the green silkworm training in the courtyard and felt that he was very safe. Exploring mystic realms was impossible. That place sounded very dangerous. But, since he had already promised it, Shiyu couldn't go back on his word either. When he had the ability, if there was still a chance, he would talk about it then. He smiled and looked at the sky. The weather was clear, and it was better to continue training quietly. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Boom! 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 Open the door. The community sends warmth. Shiyu's smile became even wider. There was true love in the world. The community knew that he was an orphan, and so, they had some warm gift for him? There doesn't seem to be anyone. Prepare to break in. Shiyu, 11, Green Silkworm? Chapter 30. Chapter 30, Backstabbed by One's Talent. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. Wait. The community was providing warmth, and if no one was around, they were preparing to break in. This was too heartwarming. Instantly, 10,000 iron-eating beasts rolled across Shiyu's heart. At the same time, 4 words appeared in his heart. He had been exposed. It was most likely that his conversation with the stone statue had finally been discovered. Actually, Shiyu had already expected this outcome. If the appearance of the mystic realm really was a big deal, the reason would definitely be investigated. Although there were no cameras in places like the park, it wasn't difficult to find someone in this world using supernatural power. Scouting of aura, divination, time reversal. It was very normal for some extraordinary creatures to master these strange abilities. I hate it. Shiyu hated his curious personality to death. Then, he ran to open the door in a depressed mood. According to the young doctor, this incident didn't seem to be a bad thing. He didn't do anything illegal either. Even if the evidence pointed to him, he could say whatever he wanted. It's finally open. When Shiyu opened the door, a cold voice came from outside, stunning him. Because there wasn't a crowd of people from the relevant departments outside as he had imagined. Instead, there was only one person. Moreover, this person wasn't the cold and aloof big sister of the street committee that he had imagined. Instead, it was an even younger beautiful woman, probably still in her 20s. This is the Wind Demon Lion. Shiyu hadn't paid attention to her for long. The thing he noticed was the creature beside her. It was a restless Wind Demon Lion. This Wind Demon Lion seemed to really be preparing to blast open the door. The Wind Demon Lion was a creature that looked like a lion and a hound on the surface. It was nearly 2 meters tall when sitting. It had fluffy white hair and dignified blue eyes. Black cloud patterns lingered around its neck, limbs, body, and long tail. It was especially domineering. Race, Wind Demon Lion. Attribute, Wind. Race level? Skills? Due to the fact that Shiyu was unlikely to come into contact with higher-level creatures at his level, he had only memorized the information about certain extraordinary creatures during school. As for the Wind Demon Lion, it was clearly a higher-level creature. Shiyu had only seen its picture before, and he hadn't paid attention to the other information. However, among the ranks of Transcendent, Commander, Monarch, Overlord, and Myth, he guessed that the Wind Demon Lion species should be at Commander rank. Roar, the Wind Demon Lion grinned. Let me introduce myself. Lu Qingyi. I have a doctorate in archaeology from the Donghuang Capital University, and I'm a member of the Donghuang Archaeological Association. Lu Qingyi looked up at Shiyu. I want to know something from you. I hope you can cooperate. The woman smiled. Doctor of Archaeology? And it was even one of the 9 great academies, Donghuang Capital University. Shiyu looked at this young lady and felt his liver hurt. She seemed like such a good girl. Apart from being a little bossy, why did she make things so hard for herself? Archaeology had no future. Shiyu, unemployed wanderer, trainee beast tamer. Please come in. After the other party's introduction, Shiyu was completely certain of the reason. After he came to this world, wasn't the only thing related to archaeology he had contact with the mutation of the stone statue. Shiyu opened the door and prepared to receive interrogation with a stifled heart. Then, Shiyu led Dr. Lu into the courtyard. At this moment, the iron-eating beast had already obediently folded up the steel plates and hid behind the tree to peek. The green silkworm had also crawled back into the birdcage, as if whatever would happen had nothing to do with it. After entering the courtyard, Lu Qingyi and the Wind Demon Lion's gazes immediately looked at the little iron-eating beast behind the tree and the green silkworm in the birdcage. Then, they looked at Shiyu again. I'll get straight to the point. The shattering of the stone statue of the Beast Tamer Association in Pingcheng has something to do with you, right? I mean no harm. Don't worry. I just want to know, did you hear a voice coming from that stone statue? Shiyu said, that stone statue is a living thing? His question implied tacit agreement. Lu Qingyi answered, no, the stone statue is dead. Your talent is telepathy. According to your understanding, telepathy should only be able to communicate with living beings, correct? Shiyu nodded. He even specially checked again, but unfortunately, he didn't find anything new. However, there are exceptions to everything. When some dead things that carry the faith, will, and emotions of many life forms undergo the baptism of time, it's possible that they can give birth to spirits. Spirit is an ethereal concept, unrelated to life, mind, or soul. The archaeology world calls it echoes of history. Only a very small number of people with special talent can hear this echo. Therefore, the archaeology world also calls beast tamers who have mastered such a gift of telepathy those who can listen to the voice of history. Shiyu said, in other words. And that special talent? Lu Qingyi nodded and said, to be able to hear the voice of history is a very impressive talent. In our long history, there have been many gaps, and countless truths were hidden. And ruins are therefore the most important way for modern people to understand history. However, these preserved ruins are often protected by extraordinary powers, and it's also very difficult to decipher or even find them. But someone who can listen to the voice of history is far easier to find. They can crack the key information of the ruins much better than ordinary people. This time, because you woke the spirit of that stone statue, it triggered an ancient ruin to surface. The truth of the area's history might be found within. Shiyu had a bad feeling. So the purpose of your visit is? Lu Qingyi said, you're very talented and a natural archaeologist. I want to invite you. Impossible. Impossible. It was impossible to do archaeological work in this lifetime. He could earn some money, raise a giant panda, and then find a beautiful girlfriend to raise a cute cat with her. Wouldn't it be good to go to a safe city and live a happy and relaxed life? Sorry. I'm not interested in archaeology. I don't want to join any archaeological association, nor do I want to go to any archaeological university, Shiyu apologized. Lu Qingyi was puzzled. Who said I wanted to invite you to join the archaeological association? Eh? No? With your talent, it's a little wasteful to join the archaeological association. Currently, in the entire ancient country, there are only 11 known listeners of history, including you. They are even fewer than legendary beast tamers, even fewer than the number of myth-level creatures in the country. Do you know what this means? You were invited by another organization. Besides, you don't have to be in a hurry to refuse. Men are all creatures who say one thing and mean another. Having this talent means that you must like this field. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for you to hear the voice of the stone statue. Lu Qingyi walked to the bottom of the birdcage and looked at the green silkworm. Her words made Shiyu feel uncomfortable. Why? Why? Why was it that even after transmigrating, he had to have some relationship with archaeology? Wasn't this telepathy talent super common or something? What was all this all of a sudden? How could this talent stab me in the back? Chapter 31. Chapter 31, Joining the Organization. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. Shiyu rejected it in his heart. He was very resistant. If it weren't for archaeology, he wouldn't have died. He was already traumatized. At least, that's how it was at the start. However, what the other party said made Shiyu a little concerned. There were only 11 people in the entire Donghuang nation who could listen to the voice of history. It was rarer than legendary beast tamers, even rarer than totem guardians. He looked at Panda 11 behind the tree. He didn't expect for himself to be a national treasure one. Only 11 people could listen to the voice of history, and his beast was also named 11? How fated was he with this number? Yu temporarily threw away his useless thoughts. What he focused on was that since he was so rare, theoretically speaking, if he joined this organization, wouldn't the treatment be very good? Now that he had been exposed and the other party had come looking for him, he should at least try to understand them. Yu was silent for a moment before probing, then where are you inviting me to? How are the benefits? Lu Qingyi smiled sweetly and said, the benefits are naturally very good. Even if you become a legendary-level beast tamer, you won't receive benefits this good. Basically, after you become an official member of the organization, your status will be higher than a legendary beast tamer. If you want to explore some ruins, apply for a huge amount of resources, and get a legendary beast tamer to be your bodyguard, all of these are possible. Yu opened his mouth slightly. The president of the Beast Tamer Association in Icefield City was only a top-notch master who had yet to reach legendary level. Legendary level was a super level that meant one could control overlord-level creatures. They basically held important positions in first-level cities. Was the place this woman wanted to invite him to join so impressive? That would make sense. After all, according to the other party, those who mastered this talent were all high-end talents. Even the mystic realm that a newbie like him accidentally summoned had such great value, let alone the people who did this as a profession. From the sound of it, joining didn't seem like a loss. Being backed by this powerful organization was so cool. He could get really far right at the starting line. I, who was killed by archaeology in my previous life, shall rise from archaeology in this life. Yu was a little tempted because he was offered so much. It sounded very tempting to directly become a legendary-level big boss from a little beast tamer who wasn't even a professional. Not to mention, he was carrying a loan. If I join, what are the obligations I'll need to fulfill? Almost none. The organization's structure is very simple. There's a lot of freedom, and the missions are all by choice. You won't be forced. Lu Qingyi looked at the sky. Although that was the case, would a beast tamer with such a talent choose to stay idle? Whenever new information about the mythical ruins appeared, those who could listen to the voice of history would definitely rush up immediately to assist in the exploration or become exploration leaders. After all, normal people wouldn't awaken this special ability at all. Really? Yu was stunned. So easygoing? In other words, as long as he controlled himself and didn't court death, even if he joined, he wouldn't have to go to any dangerous places to carry out missions. On the contrary, if he wanted to court death occasionally and had needs, he could even apply for a large amount of resources, bodyguards, and information. Yu was a little tempted again. So the organization's name is? The Homeland Ruins Strategic Investigation and Backup Security Bureau can also be called Bureau 11 according to their serial number. You can see it in this way, the members of this organization are special personnel from the archaeological world. The organization is a special department that specializes in handling various important ruins. 11 again. Yu was already used to it. Names could be ignored. After Lu Qingyi finished speaking, Yu fell into deep thought. The organization's name sounded pretty powerful, so should he join? After asking so much, the fact was that this organization had come looking for him. He had this special talent that could not be ignored. It seemed like it would be very difficult to settle the aftermath if he didn't join. In that case, I'll join. In the end, Yu let out a long sigh. Joining was nothing. Since there were no restrictions on his freedom, in the end, whether he courted death or not depended on himself. It was fine as long as he did things steadily. He would never admit that he wanted to resume his old career. Dr. Lu, are you also a member of Bureau 11? Well, including you and me, there would be a total of 11 people in Bureau 11. And welcome to the team. From today onwards, you are a reserve member of Bureau 11. Lu Qingyi smiled for the second time, as if Yu's answer had satisfied her. There were too few talents in this area. Every time she explored ruins, she would feel like she didn't have enough hands. And now, as she had personally unearthed a newbie, Lu Qingyi felt that when Yu grew up in the future, she would have another useful tool to count on. As the youngest person in Bureau 11, she also wanted to have someone who she could use like a tool, rather than helping her teacher run errands and being someone's tool herself. Reserve member? On the other hand, after Lu Qingyi finished speaking, Shiyu suddenly felt that he had been tricked. After further discussion, he discovered that the benefits seemed to all belong to official members. Yes, reserve. Every new member has to pass a test before they can become an official member after joining Bureau 11. Shiyu was already regretting it when the other party's next words made him nod immediately. In addition, your strength and abilities are also too weak at the moment. The organization will therefore provide you with 10 million in starting funds. Your first task will be to grow quickly. At the very least, you have to become a professional beast tamer and accept the archaeological knowledge of the system. No problem, I'll definitely complete the mission. When can the funds be transferred? Compared to benefits such as the legendary beast tamer bodyguard, it was obvious that 10 million yuan was more attractive to Shiyu at the moment. With this money, why would he need to nurture a green silkworm? His plans couldn't keep up with the changes. Buggy, goodbye. You're now free. Tomorrow, Lu Qingyi said. Your credentials and funds will be in place tomorrow, but unless it's a special situation, I suggest you don't casually expose your identity as a member of Bureau 11. Otherwise, some foreign spies will make you so annoyed that you'll explode. By the way, only Bureau 11 knows that the descent of the ruins is related to you. Next, before you become an official member, I'll be your contact with the organization. That's all I have to say. Shiyu nodded. Don't worry. I'm not a high-profile person. Only 11 people in the country had this talent. As an important talent who could crack the secret of the ruins, he would definitely be easily targeted, not to mention him being so weak. I forgot to mention the most important thing. Your assessment mission is to investigate the truth of the history of Icefield City. There's no time limit. After succeeding, you can become an official member. I've previously explored the Ice Dragon ruins in the Snow Mountain, but due to the lack of key information, I couldn't crack the mechanism. This time, there's a new Icefield City ruins. Because of your appearance, it might be you who breaks this. Even if one had the talent to listen to the voice of history, one couldn't hear everything. One needed a certain opportunity to hear the echoes of history. Lu Qingyi herself had failed, but Shiyu had succeeded. After Lu Qingyi's investigation, she realized that it made sense. After all, Shiyu was a native of Icefield City. It would be relatively more likely for him to be able to hear the voice of history. Shiyu's desire for the truth of this city was definitely deeper than hers. This assessment mission was practically created for Shiyu. You want me to investigate the historical truth of Icefield City? Shiyu said. But can I come into contact with that newly arrived mystic realm? Sure. This mystic realm is a special type of ruin. Even if you don't use your identity as a member of Bureau 11, there's a high chance of you being able to enter. As for what to do next, it's part of your assessment. Lu Qingyi continued, finally, as your referral, I'll give you a gift on behalf of someone. In order to let Shiyu grow quickly and become her assistant, she planned to pay him in advance. As for money, I don't think you need it for the time being. Then, what should I get you? The manuals of secret skills that the iron-eating beast can use. The special evolution method of the green silkworm? What about a high-level beast baby? Chapter 32. Chapter 32, 3 Evolution Paths. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. That iron-eating beast panda cub should be your first pet, right? As for this green silkworm, is it your additional pet? The gift that Lu Qingyi planned to give would be chosen according to these two pets. She had long noticed the iron-eating beast and the green silkworm. The iron-eating beast was fine. Shiyu's information showed that his initial pet was an iron-eating beast, while the green silkworm was a discovery outside the information. She could tell that this green silkworm probably didn't contract with Shiyu, which meant that it was currently in a wild state. It was actually not a big deal to raise wild pets. Apart from the major breeding bases, many beast tamers with talent in telepathy like to do that stuff. Some beast tamers were restricted by levels and couldn't contract more pets, but if they wanted to train more pets, the solution was very simple. It was fine as long as they didn't actually contract with the beasts. In any case, with the gift of telepathy, he could communicate with wild pets without any obstacles. As long as the relationship between the two parties was good, the contract was dispensable. The only pity was that it wouldn't be able to enter the beast taming space to grow quickly. In Lu Qingyi's opinion, this green silkworm should be an additional pet cultivated by Shi Yu. It could be that he wanted to raise it for fun, or he wanted to nurture it into a wind crystal butterfly and keep it for future contracts. At least, based on her current observation, this green silkworm was cultivated very well. Its worm silk level shouldn't be low, so it definitely wouldn't be a problem for it to successfully evolve. As expected of a graduate from the nursing specialization. Secret Skill Manual. Special Evolution Method? High-level pet cub? Originally, Shi Yu would have been very satisfied with the 10 million yuan he was going to receive, but now that the other party wanted to give him something else, Shi Yu fell into deep thought. The saying went that one shouldn't accept gifts without doing anything. Isn't it a little bad to accept gifts frequently? Forget it, I've already received 10 million yuan. What's there to be reserved about? He could have the secret manual of iron-eating beast skills. Although his 11 didn't lack skills, the more the better. Moreover, these would be skills with a normal source compared to how he got his other skills, so there would be no pressure to use them. As for the green silkworm's special evolution method that this woman was offering, he could accept it as well. Initially, Shi Yu had already planned to release this little bug, but from the sound of it, this other option seemed quite appealing. He had already taught it the worm silk skill so many times and raised it for so long. It would be a pity to let it go. After raising it for so long, he didn't even sell the worm silk once. What a loss! But if the green silkworm could evolve into a pretty good race, it could continue to work for him. A high-level pet cub? In fact, Shi Yu also wanted a special pet to broaden his horizons. It would be best if it was a fantasy-type creature like those made up on Earth. For example, dragon girl, flower fairy, mermaid. Do we have to choose one out of 3? Shi Yu asked. Lu Qingyi? You want all of them? I have to become stronger quickly in order to contribute to the archaeological cause, Shi Yu said. Lu Qingyi also fell into deep thought. She carefully looked at Shi Yu's face and sized him up. She didn't expect him to be so thick-skinned. All right. Lu Qingyi nodded. Very good, then we'll just consider it advance payment. You can't contract with a high-level beast cub even if I give it to you now. We'll talk about it after you become a high-level beast tamer. Currently, Shi Yu was a beast tamer trainee. He could only contract with one pet. After becoming an apprentice-rank beast tamer, he would be able to contract with a second one. However, although the stats might be good enough, it was still a little insufficient for an apprentice beast tamer to contract with the high-level beast cub she mentioned. The level of their beast taming space could not sustain the accelerated growth of high-level beast cubs. Shi Yu? Indeed, even if he was given an extra cub now, he wouldn't be able to contract with it. The Iron-Eating Beast Skill Manual. I don't know much about iron-eating beasts, but I heard that Ping Cheng's Bamboo Stone Dojo has 2 skills suitable for them to learn. Tomorrow, I'll give you a recommendation letter at the same time. You can then go to Bamboo Stone Dojo to learn from the owner at any time. Shi Yu? This was within the scope of his plan in the first place. However, the previous plan was to go to the school to challenge and secretly learn some skills during the fight. But now, it had become the personal teaching of a master-rank beast tamer with proper and ethical learning methods. The skill profundities of the Bamboo Stone Dojo were only imparted to personal disciples who joined the dojo. The number of people who mastered it was very small, and it was considered an internal inheritance. However, since the potential power of 11 was so great, it wasn't impossible for an outsider like Shi Yu who hadn't joined the dojo to learn it. All right. Shi Yu nodded. That was fine too. Having a reasonable learning method was better than secretly copying it. Then there's the evolution method. By the way, Are you planning to nurture the green silkworm into a wind crystal butterfly and contract with it? Lu Qingyi took one last look at the green silkworm in the birdcage and asked. No, it's just that the green silkworm is one of the most malleable pets. I can't help but want to nurture it. In other words, the green silkworm's worm silk was very malleable. There were different buyers based on different cultivation methods. He was very short on money and couldn't help but want to nurture it. Green silkworm. Shiyu had his own method of understanding things, but Lu Qingyi had another. The green silkworm was indeed one of the most malleable pets. Among the known evolution routes, the green silkworm could evolve into the highest number of pet types. As a complete mutated pet, according to different cultivation plans, during its first evolution, it could evolve into most moths and butterfly-type creatures. There were already dozens of known types. Almost every researcher who studied evolution would use a pet like the green silkworm as the initial experiment subject. The reason was also very simple. The cultivation period of the green silkworm was short, and the process of breaking out of the cocoon and becoming a butterfly was even like a lucky draw. Everyone was a gambler, and no one knew what would come out of the cocoon. That kind of anticipation felt very good. I won't tell you about the transcendent evolution paths. I know 3 commander rank evolution paths that are higher rank than transcendent. You can choose. After successfully cultivating it, this green silkworm's potential can leap past that little iron-eating beast. It's very suitable to be your second pet, Lu Qingyi said. 11. Lomega, howl. 11, who was beside him, vaguely felt that someone was talking bad about it. It seemed to be that bad woman. Gee? The green silkworm was still silly and looked like it didn't have a high IQ. It didn't care about evolution either. After all, one couldn't expect a worm to have the IQ of a mammal. Perhaps only evolution could make it smarter. Which 3? The 3 evolution paths respectively represent low-class commander rank, middle-class commander rank, and high-class commander rank. The evolution conditions also change from easy to difficult. First is the Ice Crystal Phoenix Butterfly, of low-class commander rank. The strongest racial skill that can be awakened is Blizzard. Next is the Ghost Beauty Butterfly, a middle-class commander rank dark element pet. It's good at curses, sneak attacks, and assassinations. Then there's the Goddess of Light Butterfly, a high-class commander rank light element pet. It can master all kinds of light and is proficient in illusions. Apart from certain specific materials and food, to evolve into these races, the minimum requirement is for the silkworm to reach expert level before the cocoon is formed. Perfected level would be best. This can maximize the potential of the pet during evolution. But it's too difficult to nurture worm silk to perfected proficiency. There's no need to force it. After all, the lifespan and talent of the green silkworm are limited. Chapter 33. Chapter 33, Breaking the Rules. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. After Lu Qingyi finished talking about the 3 evolution paths, she waited for Shiyu's choice. In any case, Shiyu couldn't take all of them, because the green silkworm could only evolve into one type of creature. Ice Crystal Phoenix Butterfly, Ghost Beauty Butterfly, Goddess of Light Butterfly. To be honest, Shiyu felt that it was all pretty good. After all, it would be a commander rank creature, no matter what. A commander rank creature's growth limit was much higher than that of a transcendent rank one. If he could contract with a commander rank creature, as long as he could afford it, becoming a professional beast tamer would be almost certain. At this point, if it were any other beast tamer, they would probably have already chosen it excitedly. However, after hearing it, Shiyu didn't immediately choose one happily. It wasn't that he had difficulty choosing, but he had heard a key piece of information. In order for the green silkworm to evolve into a commander rank creature, apart from some necessary evolution materials, its worm silk proficiency actually only needed to be expert level. He had previously thought that it would need to at least be perfected level. It was simply difficult to even reach perfect proficiency for the worm silk skill. But what if he did pursue perfected level worm silk proficiency? At that time, would it stimulate the potential of the pet to 200%? Are there any green silkworms that have reached the skill level of perfection before evolution? Shiyu asked. Lu Qingyi said, it's not impossible. If you can find mystic realms and ruins suitable for the growth of the green silkworm and spend a huge fortune to nurture it, you might then be able to raise its worm silk proficiency to that level in its lifetime. Or, when you get to the level of a legendary beast tamer, you can return to nurture the green silkworm. However, putting aside the cost-effective ratio, this green silkworm won't be able to live until then. There are roughly only two methods. At the moment, it's not like there are no successful cases in the country. There was a green silkworm that evolved into a monarch rank ice phoenix moth. Why? Are you tempted by this? Shiyu smiled. I'm just asking. Lu Qingyi said, don't be too greedy. If you plan to evolve it, the level of the green silkworm's worm silk isn't the higher the better. The higher the level of the worm silk, the greater its potential after evolution. However, the evolution process will also be more difficult. There's a greater risk of failure in breaking out of the cocoon, so this is the reason why there's no need to deliberately pursue perfect proficiency. Unless you can guarantee that the evolution materials you use can definitely allow the green silkworm to awaken powerful new racial skills during the evolution process, and that with this skill, it can absolutely break through the cocoon. But this kind of thing, even the best evolution planner can't guarantee it. Shiyu roughly understood. The level of the green silkworm's worm silk, the level of the cocoon formed, the difficulty of breaking through the cocoon, and the potential after evolution, these were all positively correlated. And if he wanted it to successfully break out of the cocoon, he would need it to successfully awaken a powerful new species skill inside the cocoon and use this ability to break out of the cocoon. As for how to awaken new racial skills during the evolution process, one needed to provide it with suitable evolution materials before it cocooned. If the evolution materials provided were wrong, the awakening skill would fail, and the evolution of the cocoon would also fail. After thinking about it carefully, Shiyu's heart stirred. If the green silkworm's evolution mechanism was like this, perhaps he didn't have to take the known evolution path. Shiyu looked at the green silkworm in the birdcage. So, what would the outcome be if he taught it a skill from the skill index before it cocooned? In this way, there would be no need to take the traditional evolution path. He could directly use the skill index before its evolution to have it break out of the cocoon. As long as the skill level was high enough, there was no risk of it not breaking out of the cocoon. At the same time, the worm silk level could also be stacked to the maximum without any worries, allowing the highest level worm cocoon to nourish the green silkworm inside. This method seemed to be feasible. Initially, Shiyu thought that commander rank creatures were pretty good, but now, he suddenly wanted to nurture a new evolution form for himself to take a look at. He could completely break the normal evolution method and use an unscientific evolution method. Skills learnt before evolution plus perfected level worm silk plus deciding attributes equals. Shiyu suddenly understood those researchers who like to study the new evolved form of the green silkworm. It was really awesome to win a prize. He nodded and said, then I'll choose the goddess of light butterfly. Although it might not necessarily evolve into this, it was definitely correct to choose the rarest one at the moment. He wanted to take a look at how the evolution materials of other evolution paths were matched. Lu Qingyi said, as expected, you chose the highest level. But as I've just reminded you, the evolution difficulty of the three of them is from easy to difficult, so you have to be sufficiently prepared before letting the green silkworm try to evolve. Wasting precious evolution materials is a small matter. If it fails to break out of the cocoon, your green silkworm might die trapped in it. Okay. The evolution method was probably Lu Qingyi's private collection or harvest. She wrote down the evolution method on the spot for Shiyu, and the quantity and level of the materials listed were also very comprehensive. An evolution method that could nurture the disgraceful green silkworm of the beast world into a high-class commander rank creature. Its value was naturally needless to say. It could totally have been the foundation for a powerful beast tamer family, yet Lu Qingyi had very casually told Shiyu the method. This also made Shiyu believe even more that the Bureau 11 mentioned by the other party might really be very powerful. He might really be able to arrange for a legendary beast tamer bodyguard in the future. Race, green silkworm. Evolution route, goddess of light butterfly. Skill requirement, worm silk skill above expert proficiency. Evolutionary materials, uncooked heart of light aged 1 to 3 years, 1. Mature sun petal, 10. Firefly nucleus, 3. Luminous fungus, 50 grams. Sunlight rock powder, large amount. Mature light-containing grass, large amount. Evolution method, after the green silkworm's growth level reaches level 9, it needs a 9:1 ratio of sunlight rock powder to soak the light-containing grass as its main food. The food soaking time is 1 hour. Feed until the green silkworm's growth level reaches level 10. After the green silkworm's growth level reaches level 10, it needs to eat 1 uncooked heart of light within a day, 10 mature sun petals, 3 firefly nuclei, and 50 grams of luminous fungus. After finishing all of them, it can then use the worm silk skill to make a cocoon. The evolution process requires about 30 days. If it's successful, the green silkworm will awaken the skill rainbow light in the cocoon and break out of the cocoon to evolve into the goddess of light butterfly. These materials. The heart of light was the name of a special fruit. The sun petal was a high-level spiritual plant. The firefly nucleus was the energy crystal of a fluorescent worm. The luminous fungus was a true core creature on the rainbow light mushroom. The sunlight rock was a rare mineral, and the light-containing grass was also a rare spiritual plant. Just by looking at the name, Shiyu could already imagine the price of this pile of materials. He couldn't help but feel a headache. If he had to buy all of them, would his 10 million yuan be enough? Iron bamboo was already so expensive as the cheapest material among the lowest first-level resources. None of the materials here were lower than third level. Little bug, as expected, we should research an even more impressive evolution path ourselves. High-level commander rank is still too low. If he wasn't confident of his own path when the time came, then he would choose this backup. After handing the green silkworm's evolution method to Shiyu, Lu Qingyi left with her wind demon lion. Only Shiyu, the iron-eating beast, and the green silkworm were left in the courtyard. After watching Lu Qingyi leave, Shiyu sighed. He didn't know whether it was a good or bad choice for him to join Bureau 11. Although he resisted his old profession vocally, it was indeed as Lu Qingyi said. If he really resisted from the bottom of his heart, he wouldn't have resonated with that stone statue. Forget it, I won't think too much. In any case, I'll have money tomorrow. I can squander a little today. Shiyu put away the evolution blueprint and decided to buy a cell phone first. He had been eyeing this thing for a long time, and now, he could finally steel his heart to buy one. Chapter 34. Chapter 34, Opening of the Ruins. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. After figuring out the truth behind the stone statue's mutation, and knowing the huge sum of money that was about to be transferred to his account, Shiyu was overjoyed. That day, he came to the building of Century Corporation and prepared to look around. Century Corporation was the leading company in the high-tech field of the Donghuang Nation and had stores in almost all cities above level 3. Shiyu planned to buy a smart cell phone here. Actually, when Lu Qingyi was around, Shiyu had already asked her if the organization would give him a phone. And the answer he got was naturally no. The other party had asked Shiyu to use a portion of the initial funds of 10 million yuan to purchase it himself. At Shiyu's level, there was currently no real need for him to equip himself with a private phone. This was uncomfortable. But whatever, even if he bought a relatively high-end cell phone, it would only be 100,000 yuan. It was nothing compared to 10 million yuan. Welcome, sir. How can I help you? After Shiyu entered the cell phone department, a receptionist immediately welcomed him. I want to choose a cell phone. What is your basic requirement? It can connect to the internet. It should also have the ability to detect energy and the pet catalog function. After Shiyu finished speaking, the receptionist immediately took out a silver-white cell phone from the counter and said, "What do you think of this one? This is the newest model of Century Corporation, the Index Machine M30. It contains information on 6,029 types of pets and their skills. In addition, it can accurately detect the energy level of pets below transcendent level. Its price is 99,998 yuan. If you choose this one, you can even get 1,000 yuan as a gift if you buy it now.
Can I try it?
Shiyu asked. Of course. Shiyu took the cell phone and found the index function. This function was actually not that magical. It was similar to the face detection feature of Earth smartphones. It needed to use the cell phone camera aimed at some creature to take effect. After opening the index function, Shiyu aimed his cell phone at a black and orange dog with a ferocious expression lying outside the hall. In an instant, the cell phone immediately broadcasted a voice message. Species, mechanical hound. Attribute, machinery. Race level, mid-level transcendent. Level of growth, level 10 awakening. Race. Skills, image storage, aura detection, electric bite, self-explosion. Introduction, artificial mechanical life used for care, tracking, and investigation. Not only was there a voice broadcast, the cell phone screen also displayed specific information about the mechanical dog. The information was relatively comprehensive, and one could also get more detailed information through clicks or voice commands. Skill, self-explosion. Skill level, advanced. Introduction, explode all the energy in your body. You will die after using it. Shiyu? This skills level was really high, but if he wanted to replicate it, would there be a bug? Seeing and touching. Those were the requirements for him to copy the skill. They would have already been blown to pieces. What would be left for him to touch? Forget it, forget it. 11 and the green silkworm didn't need this skill anyway. Because of the basic energy wave detection function, the mechanical dog's growth level was also successfully registered. Level 10 was considered pretty high. It was just a step away from becoming a transcendent creature. Very good, Shiyu thought to himself. This index function was what he would find most useful. Although he was also considered a genius, he only understood transcendent ranked creatures the most, and he didn't dare to say that he could understand everything. But with this cell phone, in the future, no matter if one encountered rare or precious pets of high races or with rare skills, they could find relevant information immediately. Although he definitely had to continue learning if he wanted to become an outstanding beast tamer, using high-tech products could more or less supplement his shortcomings and aid him. In short, this cell phone was good in every way, and its looks were all right, but it was so expensive. If he bought it now, his savings would go straight to the bottom. The 10 million promised by Lu Qingyi was supposed to be transferred to his account tomorrow. If not, he and 11 could only eat dirt then. Roasted earth rat, lure. If he had known it would drain his finances, he would have come tomorrow instead. Shiyu deeply realized the shortcomings of his personality. He was very curious and had a rather impatient personality. Such a personality was very suitable for courting death. No wonder he was someone who had transmigrated. Forget it, I'm already here. She had already given him the rare evolution method, so why would she run away with the 10 million? Give me one, Shiyu said to the receptionist. Yes, sir. The receptionist immediately smiled. He seemed to be quite happy with the sale. After buying the cell phone and settling a series of business matters, Shiyu left in pain. But he wasn't in a hurry to go home. Instead, he went to another company, Talent Group. Talent Group and Century Group were two of the 5 largest corporations in the nation. They were both widespread. The latter focused on high-tech products, while the former focused on rare spiritual plants, minerals, pet food, and nutritional supplements. Since he had already spent so much money, Shiyu didn't mind spending a little more. 11 had eaten enough iron bamboo every day for the past month. Although it liked it, Shiyu wanted to give it something better. In the end, he bought some level 2 resources, iron heartwood. This was also a recommended food in the metal-eating beast cultivation manual given by Lin Xiuju, and it was of a higher level than iron bamboo. Iron heartwood, as the name suggested, was wood with metal minerals growing inside. It was considered a spiritual plant with stuffing and also one of the best foods for iron-eating beasts. Its attributes were also inclined towards gold and wood, which could effectively strengthen the iron-eating beast's hardening ability and its vitality. This kind of ingredient provided more nutrition than iron bamboo. Typically, only transcendent rank iron-eating beasts would eat it as their main food. Otherwise, it would be very easy for it to be overnourished. Although that was the case, Shiyu considered the expenditure of his iron-eating beast. He felt that it wasn't a problem for it to consume all this nutrition. After all, its appetite was several times that of an ordinary iron-eating beast. As for the green silkworm, it grew quickly anyway. It didn't lack the nutrition needed for the occasional skill index upgrade, so Shiyu didn't spend too much on it. What he ate was what the green silkworm ate. This was a restraint. A restraint that even 11 didn't have to deal with. Later on, Shiyu even planned to see if there were any higher-level supplements. After all, his body was about to develop resistance to the refreshing capsule already. Besides, the level of the capsule was indeed not high. He would be rich soon. Shiyu also planned to treat himself better. Only if he was good could his pets be good. However, considering that the capsules at home had yet to be finished, Shiyu finally decided to use them all up before looking for new substitutes. After squandering money to his heart's content, Shiyu returned home feeling refreshed. As usual, 11 pulled the green silkworm along to do daily training. As for Shiyu himself, apart from meditation, he could also lie in the courtyard and use his cell phone to learn. After browsing for a while, because Shiyu had registered with his Beast Tamer identity, he suddenly received a message notification from the Beast Tamer Association of Pingcheng regarding all trainee beast tamers there. The ruins near Icefield City have already been opened. Those who wish to explore it can sign up for the Beast Tamer Association's field combat training and participate in the assessment. Those who pass the assessment can obtain the right to explore. Everything you find in the ruins will belong to you. Chapter 35. Chapter 35, Decision. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. The access rights are open just like that? Isn't it said that all the treasures in these ruins and mystic realms belong to the person who discovers them? No wonder that Lu woman said that there's a chance to enter even without the identity of Bureau 11. How is this a gift? It looks like she's just recruiting cannon fodder. We don't even know if there are treasures inside. Maybe there are only monsters. Shiyu sensed that something was wrong. In order to gain access, one had to go through the field combat training organized by the Beast Tamer Association. From the looks of it, one of the entry requirements was to have a certain amount of combat ability. What would happen if he didn't have actual combat ability? Needless to say, he would most likely die in the ruins. There are hundreds of millions of pitfalls. Just as Shiyu wanted to search for more information about the Mystic Realm ruins, he suddenly heard a gurgle tilde from the side. Auu. 11 staggered over and asked when the meal would start. At this moment, the green silkworm was lying limp in the birdcage like a crippled worm. It really didn't have a single thread left. There's a sumptuous meal today. Don't worry, I'll get it right away. Shiyu looked at the time. Good heavens, it was actually so late. Usually, when he was meditating, days felt like years, and time passed very slowly. Now, he had just swiped his phone for a short while, and the sky was actually almost dark. If the cell phone could evolve into a mechanical life form, it would most likely be able to awaken racial skills that could control time, like that TV show Silly Girl. 11 wasn't the only one who was hungry. Shiyu realized that he also felt a little hungry, so he quickly went to prepare the food. A moment later. 11's iron bamboo pole, bamboo shoots, bamboo leaves, and iron heartwood. Shiyu steamed buns and tomato egg soup. The green silkworm's vegetable leaves. The three of them started eating their own food. As they ate, Shiyu asked 11, "Are you interested in field combat training?" After returning from the battle hall the last time, Shiyu had already thought of getting some field combat experience. At the moment, this was probably the only thing that could put pressure on 11. Although this training was said to be a field battle, the safety of the whole process was still guaranteed. After all, it was organized by the association to train local beast tamers. To be honest, he was still a little afraid of the Mystic Realm ruins to explore it. After all, he didn't even know what was going on inside. But if it was just field combat training, participating in it didn't seem to be a big deal. Firstly, he could continue to train his and 11's combat abilities, and secondly, he could use this opportunity to see how the assessment was related to the ruins of the Mystic Realm. Woo! 11 raised its arms. Charge! 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 Its eyes were bright, indicating that, of course, it wanted to participate. The whole point of tough training was to show off the results. Otherwise, it would be meaningless. That ice-armored beast and that group of earth rats couldn't let it showcase all the training results. The only thing that made it feel a little pressured was the Wind Demon Lion, but 11 knew that he definitely couldn't defeat it in the first place. The Wind Demon Lion was of commander rank. The pressure created by a commander rank creature was still very strong for an infant at the growth stage like 11. Even worse, the pressure produced by monarch rank creatures could directly kill low-level creatures. After a pet reached the rank of monarch, it could automatically awaken its deterrence ability. This was also why the deterrent skill duplicated by Shiyu was referred to as the kingly aptitude. The act of mastering it wasn't something just any creature could do. To master this special ability of a monarch rank in advance meant that one had the aptitude of a king. A being with potential. Then let's participate and take a look. Shiyu nodded. Then, he looked at the green silkworm in the birdcage and said, "You too." "Gee?" The green silkworm showed a confused and innocent expression. As far as I know, with the info I found using my cell phone, the evaluation criteria for the assessment in field combat basically depends on what kind of creature is defeated or what rare resources have been gathered. Of course, I'll leave the fighting to 11, but gathering things can be done with your worm silk. Shiyu smiled. For example, he couldn't be bothered to pick those plants growing on a cliff or those resources protected by biological communities. Giving them to the green silkworm would be easiest. Stealing would definitely be more efficient than fighting. Gee! The green silkworm lowered its head and started eating its last supper. The next day, Lu Qingyi came again. She brought along identification documents representing Shiyu's status as a reserve member of Bureau 11. At the same time, she also handed a bank card with 10 million yuan in savings to Shiyu. As for the Bamboo Stone Dojo's recommendation letter, it was nothing compared to the first two. With this certificate, you can have the authority to directly explore most of the ruins. For example, you can enter the Pingcheng ruins directly with it. As for the Ice Dragon ruins in the Snowy Mountain, well, I suggest that you should reach the abilities of a professional before exploring there. Otherwise, even if you wear a cold-proof suit, your physique definitely won't be able to withstand that temperature.
Are there any bodyguards?
Shiyu asked. You can apply for a bodyguard for the Ice Dragon ruins on the Snowy Mountain, but not for this one that you triggered. I've said before that this ruin is relatively special, so, unfortunately, you can't. Lu Qingyi smiled. Shiyu's eyelids twitched. So what exactly is going on inside this ruin? You might as well tell me directly. The cracked stone statue was still waiting for him to restore the truth, but if it was too dangerous, he would have no choice but to do it next time. There's no harm in telling you in advance. The predecessor of the Mystic Realm ruins is the beast-taming space of a beast tamer. You know this, right? Shiyu nodded. Firstly, the space in this ruin is very unstable. According to an experiment, only trainee beast tamers can enter normally. If the beast tamer's level is too high, the beast tamer's space in the ruins will have a spatial rejection reaction. Of course, we can also forcefully develop it, but that could easily cause the space to collapse. That wouldn't be worth it. After all, the most precious thing is the ruin itself. I guessed it. Otherwise, the Pingcheng District Association wouldn't have been prepared to give a large number of beast tamers access to such an important ruin, Shiyu said. Then, this ruin is a challenge-type ruin. It should have been modified by that beast tamer postnatally. Its purpose was to train the new generation beast tamers of their own tribe. After beast tamers enter, they will randomly arrive at an independent environment. No one can meet each other. Elemental creature clones will appear in the environment. Only by defeating them can they enter the next environment. It's a little similar to a level challenge. At the moment, there are actually already beast tamers from the Ping Cheng beast tamer troops who have entered to explore, but as for battle results, Lu Qingyi shook her head. The strength of the beast tamers in Ping Cheng was still too weak. Even if transcendent creatures didn't appear in this ruin temporarily, they wouldn't be able to clear it all. If there were some beast tamer trainees from big cities, they would definitely be able to discover the secret of the ruins faster. However, this ruin appeared in Ping Cheng after all. The priority of exploration should definitely belong to Ping Cheng. Then, it would be the other districts and counties in Icefield City. In the end, it would still be impossible to crack before multiple cities attempted it together.
Is it dangerous inside?
Shiyu asked the question he was most concerned about. According to the people who came out, those elemental creatures only aim to defeat their opponents, not kill them. But if the challenger is too weak, there will still be danger. Wait a minute. I'll give you an address and an invitation number. Your 10 million starting capital can buy cultivation resources through here. You'll also get a certain discount. Use this ruin and this 10 million yuan reasonably, and then go to the Bamboo Stone Dojo to learn for a period of time. I believe you can become a professional level beast tamer very soon. In any case, don't pay attention to the Ice Dragon ruins first. Instead, use the ruins as your primary investigation target. Shiyu said, it still sounds a little dangerous. My iron-eating beast is only at level 5, and those elite clan's beast tamers who are proficient in combat can probably defeat it. It's useless even if I go. If you want to investigate the historical truth of Icefield City, you don't necessarily have to clear it. There should be some clues in every independent environment. Your listening talent should be very useful when the time comes, Lu Qingyi said. After all, this ruin appeared because of you. Of course, you should still have the most basic ability to protect yourself. Learning 2 new skills with your iron-eating beast at the Bamboo Stone Dojo should be enough. It's still too difficult with just a hardening ability. All right. Shiyu nodded. Then continue training for a while. He didn't intend to enter directly with the identity of a member of Bureau 11. After all, there was no benefit to it. He would only receive more meaningless attention. As expected, he should still participate in the Beast Tamer Association's assessment first. It would put him more at ease to enter through this channel. The criteria for passing this assessment should mean that one could survive safely in the ruins. If he couldn't even achieve satisfactory results for this assessment, he shouldn't go to the ruins either. His life was more important. Shiyu slowly made plans for himself. Then, he quickly realized that something was wrong. *CK, didn't he say that he wouldn't touch ruins in this lifetime? What was with the anticipation and excitement? Chapter 36. Chapter 36, Training. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. After investigating Shiyu's identity and background, the Homeland Ruins Strategic Investigation and Backup Security Bureau, which was also known as Bureau 11, currently had a free movement policy towards Shiyu. Although Shiyu was talented and had a clean background, he was too lousy. Even Lu Qingyi, who had the least experience in Bureau 11, had the title of doctorate in Donghuang Capital University, one of the 9 major universities, so one could imagine Shiyu's position as the junior of the organization. Investigating the historical truth of Icefield City alone was also training for Shiyu. Using this, one would be able to see the subsequent manifestations of Shiyu's ability to listen to the echoes of history, his listening talent. At the moment, Lu Qingyi was the one who paid the most attention to Shiyu's growth in Bureau 11. After all, she had already greeted those big bosses, making sure it was known that she was the one who discovered Shiyu and dug him up. After Shiyu became an official member, he had to be her assistant first. They couldn't snatch him away from her. I hope you can pass the vocation assessment in half a year. After Lu Qingyi left Shiyu's house again, she had some thoughts. As someone with a certain level of experience, she naturally didn't want Shiyu to wait for the vocation assessment happening then. That would only be the standard for ordinary beast tamers like Chen Kai. Now, she had provided Shiyu with a huge amount of starting capital and also helped him get a learning opportunity at Bamboo Stone Dojo. Her goal was to let Shiyu catch up to the next vocation assessment. After becoming a professional beast tamer, one would be considered to have stepped into the real door of the beast tamer world. Every step was lengthy, and there was never enough time. Every step a beast tamer took was a race against time. Sigh. At this moment, in the courtyard, Shiyu couldn't help but sigh as he watched Lu Qingyi leave. With the rich lady gone, they could only rely on themselves to work hard. Shiyu took out his black Bureau 11 ID and sighed as he looked at his handsome profile picture. Bureau 11 was roughly equivalent to the final strength and trump card of the Donghua nation when facing various ruins. Its status was very high. In his previous life, the archaeological field might not have been much, but many ruins here were related to various guardian totems and mythical creatures. There were a lot of secrets involved. It could be said that decrypting ruins was the most critical pathway for beast tamers to reach the mythical domain. Therefore, as the most elite group of people in the archaeology world, it wasn't strange for Bureau 11 to have a legendary rank beast tamer serving as a bodyguard. Sigh. Shiyu sighed twice. Although he was unlucky enough to enter the archaeology field again, he had entered such a high-level organization in just a few months here. As expected of you, Shiyu. Indeed, after changing worlds, you're still so outstanding. Can this certificate let me enter most ruins? At the same time, I'd be able to apply for a bodyguard from Bureau 11 with this certificate to explore ruins? Shiyu suddenly felt that the certificate was a little heavy. It was convenient, but it was equivalent to a Pandora's box. If he used it, it would definitely mean that he was courting death again. I'll keep it away first. After putting away the documents, it was already noon. Shiyu had to prepare food for 11 and the silkworm again. Wuuu. During this process, 11 roared at the sky in the courtyard, scaring the green silkworm. You gave me a fright, damn it! It also gave Shiyu a fright. But because of his mental connection with 11, he roughly knew what was going on. 11's growth level increased again, reaching level 6 awakening. Today was July 25, 177, and he had joined Bureau 11 on July 4, 177. It had only been slightly more than 20 days, but it had already advanced by 3 levels. This speed would definitely make many beast tamers cry. Under normal circumstances, even if 11 could eat a lot and did a lot of training, this growth speed was still unscientific. The reason it could grow so quickly was mainly related to the teaching of the skill book. The increase in skill proficiency would lead to the growth of the pet itself. This was the reason why 11's growth was so fast. It could also be understood in this way. The physical strength and energy consumed by Shiyu had all been converted into the nutrition needed for the growth of his pet during the teaching process. Shiyu carried a metal basin and walked out. He looked at 11, who was waving excitedly at him, and estimated. Your height is almost 1 meter. The little iron-eating beast nodded in confusion. The current size of the little iron-eating beast was a lot bigger than when it was first brought back from the iron bamboo breeding base. However, it was also normal. Currently, it was at its fastest growth phase. Congratulations, let's eat first, Shiyu said with a smile. He quickly prepared food for 11 and the green silkworm. Then, he picked up his cell phone and checked the situation of the 2 pets. Species iron-eating beast. Level of growth, level 6 awakening. Species green silkworm. Level of growth, level 4 awakening. One was at level 6, while the other was at level 4. However, he couldn't treat them as normal pets of this level. After all, their skill proficiency far exceeded other pets of the same level. If he signed up for the field combat assessment organized by the Beast Tamer Association, Shiyu was very curious about what kind of assessment results he could get with these two little guys. That afternoon, Shiyu went to the Beast Tamer Association in Pingcheng again. This time, he came openly. Of course, this time, he came here to register for the field combat assessment organized by the Beast Tamer Association in Pingcheng. This is ridiculous. Why are there so many people? However, after coming here, Shiyu's scalp immediately went numb. There were so many people that it was ridiculous. It seemed that all of them were here to register for the field combat assessment. The appearance of Mystic Realm ruins in Pingcheng was no longer a secret, and most beast tamers knew what the ruins represented. It represented opportunities and wealth. This time, the Beast Tamer Association announced that all the gains from the Mystic Realm would belong to the individual. This directly made those beast tamers whose families were as poor as he used to be go crazy. A gamble was a chance to change one's fate. Looks like a batch of beast tamers with no potential will be eliminated from the field combat assessment organized by the association. Then, the beast tamers with potential will be sent further into the ruins to train. This way, after a period of time, another batch of beast tamers qualified to challenge the vocation assessment will appear in Pingcheng. In a sense, just the news of the appearance of the ruins had completely mobilized the enthusiasm of Pingcheng's beast tamer trainees. In the past, there hadn't been so many people signing up for wilderness training. After a while, it was finally time. There were 3 combat training venues in Pingcheng. The venue designation would be according to the situation of the beast tamer. There were definitely simple and difficult spots in the 3 locations. Shiyu estimated that at his level, he definitely wouldn't be getting the hardest spots. Hello, the location of your assessment is Mount Tuanmang. The assessment is held for a total of 3 days. The time starts on July 28th, which is 3 days later, and ends on the 30th. Please arrive at the training base at Mount Tuanmang by 9 a.m. on the 28th. If you are late, you are considered to have given up voluntarily. The registration fee will not be refunded. The lady at the front desk added sweetly, as for the details, please go to the hall to take a look. Thank you. Shiyu turned and left. The registration fee for an assessment was 10,000 yuan. Actually, it wasn't expensive. It was already considered cheap. After all, in every training location, there were high-level beast tamers from the Beast Tamer Association who had eliminated the risk factors in advance. They also had professional security teams who were responsible for the safety of the trainees throughout the entire process. In order for them to gain more experience, the Beast Tamer Association would also transfer a large number of pets that were not local to be placed in it for the apprentices to broaden their horizons. Apart from that, the rare resources in the training venue had also been controlled to a full extent. Experts could freely obtain them. After they came out, they would be split at a certain ratio with the Beast Tamer Association. Therefore, as long as the beast tamer who was training didn't take it too far, with a little bit of ability, this registration fee could be recouped, and the stronger ones could even earn money. Shiyu's goal this time was not to earn, but to not lose out. Then, Shiyu took a look at the things to take note of in the registration hall. In fact, there wasn't much to pay attention to. The trainees were just reminded that they needed to bring some necessities on their own. After paying a little attention, Shiyu returned home. There were still 3 days until the so-called field combat assessment. Shiyu planned to just pass it normally. There was no need to train desperately at the last minute, or else it would affect his pet's condition. His goal was only to train 11's combat ability so that its combat ability and growth level wouldn't be out of sync. He also wanted to see if he could replicate some rare skills instead of only combat abilities. If he wanted to go on a killing spree, he wouldn't have been in such a hurry to register. After stably developing for half a year with 10 million yuan, he would have had everything ready. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. These 3 days were indeed passed normally. 11 and the green silkworm still had the usual training and food. Shiyu, on the other hand, spent his days on meditation and playing with his cell phone. The only thing worth mentioning was that during this period, Shiyu used the skill book 3 more times. he taught Worm Silk twice and Hardening once. In this way, including the previous time, 11 was probably taught 2 more times by the skill index on top of its already expert-level hardening skill. On the other hand, the green silkworm was taught twice by the skill index on the foundation of the expert-level worm silk it already had. It was just an additional 2 times, so their skill proficiency naturally wasn't at the perfected level yet. As for their daily bit of training, the relatively large experience gap made it naturally insufficient. After this, Shiyu was thinking about a mathematics problem. When a pet that didn't have any foundation for a skill was taught by the skill index once, it would be at initial level, teaching it twice equaled proficient level, and teaching it 4 times was expert level. Then how many times did he have to teach it for it to be at perfected level? 8 or 16 times? This question is too difficult. I can't figure it out. Shiyu gave up struggling. It would be better to wait and verify it personally. That morning, Shiyu woke up very early. Now that he was rich, he decided to use a taxi for once. When he arrived at the street under the training base of Mount Tuanmang, he discovered a large number of beast tamers gathered at the entrance. They were basically around 20 years old. Shiyu! When Shiyu arrived, he heard someone calling out to him. He looked around and immediately saw a guy with dark eye circles that looked like an iron-eating beast. As expected, "You're here too," Chen Kai, the top student of his class, said. "I knew you wouldn't miss this." "Shiyu?" "No, what's with your dark eye circles? Don't tell me you really ate supplements like candy when you went back." Chapter 37. Chapter 37, A Strange Creature. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. "Why are you here too?" Shiyu raised his eyebrows and looked at Chen Kai. This guy was so weak. The ice-armored beast couldn't even withstand 11's attack previously. What was it doing here? What's wrong with me? It's not just me. Most of the students in our class are here. The teachers are pretty encouraging. Did you know that after we left that day, that stone statue in the garden exploded that night? How exciting! Yes, I remember how exciting that was. Shiyu scratched his cheek. What else could he say? He couldn't possibly say that he was the one who had caused the explosion, right? Even that Mystic Realm ruin was something he caused by talking to the statue. By the way, your training method is pretty useful. My ice-armored beast is already level 7. Chen Kai thanked Shiyu. He had worked hard before realizing how great his and the ice-armored beast's potential was. He had long wanted to thank Shiyu. He had had a premonition that Shiyu would definitely come for this assessment, so he had paid attention to his surroundings in advance. He didn't expect to really bump into him. In short, this week was too fulfilling. I advise you to control yourself. Shiyu's face was rather speechless. Your story has spread all over the pharmacy in Pingcheng. Stop it! He didn't want to be the culprit behind the destruction of the country's youth. Yes, I have control. Chen Kai looked up at the sky. In short, the assessment this time would depend on his performance. In order to find Shiyu, Chen Kai deliberately didn't follow the students who came to participate in the training earlier. On the way to the training base with Shiyu, Chen Kai said, I heard that there are 100 applicants in each batch for a training site. Teacher Zhong revealed that only those who are ranked in the top 20 of each training base can enter the ruins. To be honest, I'm a little unsure. 1/5? That's not low. Shiyu walked beside him and said, Don't worry, you're an excellent student. If it was a level 6 ice-armored beast, it might be difficult, but Shiyu didn't expect Chen Kai to really break through by using all those refreshing capsules. The current environment was too complicated. Chen Kai blushed. Son of a B*TCH. After all, he had already realized back then how he was a shitty top student. After witnessing Shiyu's strength, he knew that he could only be impressive in school. He couldn't compare to the beast tamers outside. However, although he said he wasn't confident, Chen Kai was still a little confident. Although his ice-armored beast was only level 7, its strength wasn't weak. Shiyu's iron-eating beast's growth level was even lower, wasn't it? But its strength was similarly ridiculous. The growth level of an awakening stage pet didn't mean anything at all. A level 10 green silkworm, without any training, might not even be as strong as a dog. This growth level was at most a reference. The battle power test was still the various training conditions of the beast tamer on the pets. Otherwise, there would be no need to organize any combat assessment. Everyone could just compete for levels. By the way, have you participated in similar events before? Shiyu asked again. The school organized it once, but the scale was definitely incomparable to this time. Chen Kai shook his head and asked, "What about you?" "First time." "That's right. You're from the feeding specialization. You definitely wouldn't have participated in it before." Shiyu nodded. After transmigrating, this was indeed his first time coming to such a relatively dangerous place. At this moment, even his cells could not help but feel excited. Sigh. I'm indeed a restless person. A moment later, the two of them arrived at the inner area of the training base. At this moment, there were more than 50 beast tamers who had already arrived. Currently, these beast trainer trainees carrying backpacks were talking in groups of 2 or 3. In the distance, 5 beast tamers in green camouflage clothes were talking to each other. They seemed to be the people in charge of this training segment 3348. The surroundings became noisier and noisier. 11, who was sleeping soundly in the beast taming space and preparing for a big battle, was still all right. It couldn't feel anything, but the green silkworm in Shiyu's backpack subconsciously woke up from its sleep and hurriedly breathed through the gap in the backpack. "Are the 2 girls from before here?" Shiyu looked around and asked Chen Kai. Chen Kai said that Yu Jingjing had some ideas, but she was dissuaded by her parents. As for Zhuang Yu, it's already difficult for her iron-eating beast to catch a rat, let alone participate in the training. Those who dared to sign up to participate in the wilderness training were actually considered brave warriors. After all, this training wasn't completely without danger. Therefore, looking over, there were indeed not many female students. After all, even if they didn't include dangerous creatures, the ordinary animals like bugs and snakes could already persuade a large number of people to leave. "Chen Kai, come here. What are you doing over there?" Just as Chen Kai finished speaking, a few people suddenly called out to him from afar. Chen Kai hurriedly said to Shiyu, "My classmate. I'll go over first. See you later." "Sure." Shiyu nodded. Then, Chen Kai jogged over. Shiyu continued to look around. He mainly observed the group of beast tamers in camouflage clothes and was curious about their identities. Were they the beast tamers hired by the security company or the beast troops? The former were only workers, while the latter were more like soldiers on Earth. Actually, for ordinary people with poor family backgrounds who wanted to become beast tamers, joining the Beast Tamer Association's Beast Tamer Corps was also a pretty good choice. After passing the evaluation in all aspects and entering the new recruits' training camps, the officials would distribute the cubs all together and then set the beast tamers and their pets up for cultivation. During this period, all the costs were provided by the association. After the training ended, they could also be assigned work by the officials, such as guarding the city walls in various places or cleaning the wilderness. There were advantages and disadvantages to this method. The advantage was that it could fulfill the dreams of people who couldn't otherwise become beast tamers, but the disadvantage was that they might lose some freedom. It was their first duty to obey orders, and the pets didn't completely belong to them. His predecessor had also considered this path back then, but it was very difficult for ordinary people to withstand such harsh training, so in the end, the original Shiyu had given up. Beep! Silence! As Shiyu observed his surroundings, in the distance, a square-faced middle-aged man took out a whistle and blew hard. The loud sound immediately attracted the attention of all the beast tamers present. Time's up! Everyone present, maintain silence. Immediately line up in an orderly manner to sign the safety notice. During this process, listen to me explain the things to take note of in this assessment. Firstly, I'm the overall person in charge of the assessment at this time. I, Zhu Wanshan, will be in charge of your assessment. There are also 4 other professional beast tamers and a group of security personnel. I won't say any more nonsense. Next, after you've signed the form about taking responsibility for your own safety, we'll give each of you a monster index. There are a large number of ferocious beasts and rare resources in Mount Chenmang. All their types are recorded in this illustrated booklet, and they have corresponding points. Hunting ferocious beasts and collecting rare resources is the way for you to obtain points and increase your ranking in the assessment. In addition, before you enter, we will issue a location tracking device. There are a large number of safe sites that we have set up inside Mount Chenmang for you. Security personnel will be stationed there. If you encounter any danger and want to give up the assessment, you can choose to call for help. At the same time, your spoils of war can also be transferred to the security guards at a safe site midway. They will be in charge of recording your results. What you need to do is to obtain as many points as possible within 3 days. In the end, the beast tamers ranked in the top 20 can obtain the right to enter the ruins. This instructor called Zhu Wanshan had shouted at the top of his voice so that every beast tamer could hear the important points clearly. Behind him, the other 4 professional instructors smiled as they sized up this group of newbies, recalling the scene of their first experience. The average age isn't that old. Quite a couple of them look chubby. Is that really okay? Sigh, I also want to return to the trainee level. This ruin is so F***ed up. The high-level beast tamers actually aren't allowed to enter. The instructors cursed. Otherwise, why would this group of pampered newbies get such a good opportunity? Cut the crap. Don't relax. Do our job well. Don't let any casualties happen during this training. The 5 professional beast tamers, together with a bunch of security personnel and technicians, were all in charge of this assessment. As they evaluated this batch of candidates, Shiyu had already signed the form about taking responsibility for his own safety. He also received a wristwatch-like positioning call device and a photo album. The function of the wristwatch was very simple. Shiyu wore it casually after understanding it a little, but his focus was on the monster index. Shiyu flipped to the first page of the booklet. It actually recorded his old friend, the Earth Rat. Hunting this thing could earn 20 points. He continued to flip through it. It seemed that the fewest points that could be given was 20 points. This Earth Mouse really didn't have much respect. But it was also true. Apart from the Earth Mouse, the other creatures like red-crowned snakes, great blade mantis, man-eating grass, and thorn monsters only gave a few more hunting points, but their names sounded like they weren't to be trifled with. As Shiyu flipped to the last few pages of the Ferocious Beast catalogue, he discovered that the ferocious beasts that appeared were getting more and more ridiculous. Name, Mad Python. Attribute, Water. Level of growth, level 10 Awakening. Race level, mid-level Transcendent. Race skills, Berserk, Torrent Tail. Introduction, Green Water Lake and Little Mang Lake are located on the map. There are 2 of them. It's extremely dangerous. It's not recommended to hunt. Points, 4,000. Shiyu? These guys didn't recommend hunting them, but they were still assigning 4,000 points to them. That was equivalent to 200 Earth Mice. Although he was complaining, Shiyu naturally understood that it was not recommended for weak beast tamers to hunt. It was specially labeled as prey prepared for those beast tamers who were confident in their abilities. Shiyu continued flipping through a few more pages and discovered that there were several boss-type prey like Mad Python marked in the book. To be honest, that Mad Python's Berserk transformation skill was pretty good. After using it, it could increase its strength and speed completely. The disadvantage was that it would lose its mind. But if he could increase the proficiency to perfected level, it should be able to overcome the shortcomings, right? A Berserker iron-eating beast? The training base really was a different place. Such a skill couldn't be found at the farms near Icefield City. Ooh? Shiyu, who was still reading the booklet, suddenly stopped. He saw a strange creature. Name, Electric Slime. Attribute, Thunder. Level of growth, level 10 awakening. Race level, mid-level transcendent. Race skills, multiplication, electricity. Introduction, the magnetic mountain range is on the map. There are 3 of them, and they are extremely dangerous. Hunting is not recommended. Points, 4,000. Slime? Shiyu felt that the training base really knew how to play. It was just like how the iron-eating beasts were unique creatures of Dong Huang. Slimes were unique creatures of other countries, but there weren't any in Dong Huang. In order to broaden the horizons of the beast tamers, the training base had even captured this thing to be a boss. Wait, this multiplication. Shiyu was suddenly attracted by the slime skill again. If he remembered correctly, this multiplication was a skill that could let the creature control its size at will. It could shrink or expand. In the shrunken state, it could maximize the preservation of physical fitness and increase the speed of physical recovery. The enlarged state was a state of extreme energy consumption, sacrificing speed in exchange for greater strength. This skill seems to be very suitable for 11? I wonder if I can learn it. The size of the iron-eating beast was still too small. It was only 2 meters even when it reached adulthood. It was still all right now, but if it faced those huge beasts that were dozens of meters tall at every turn in the future, it was a little too small. On the other hand, if he could learn this multiplication, Shiyu could easily imagine the scene of a huge iron-eating beast tearing apart a huge dragon with its bare hands. Then, in the blink of an eye, it would be another scene of a small iron-eating beast panda cub being held in his hand. This skill was equivalent to giving a pet 3 forms. That was the shrunken state for preserving physical fitness and accelerating energy recovery, the normal state for both strength and speed, and the huge transformation for extreme strength enhancement. Chapter 38. Chapter 38, Entering Mount Tuen Mang. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. I want this multiplication skill. Slimes were mud-like creatures that could become bigger and smaller, so only the slimes would frequently have multiplication skills. There were very few transcendent creatures who had mastered the multiplication skill, so it was very difficult to encounter them. Therefore, Shiyu had no intention of letting go of a slime if he managed to encounter one. Even a monkey like Sun Wukong could learn that lawful embodiment of heaven and earth skill and turn itself into a giant monkey, so it's not that unscientific for his panda to learn multiplication. In short, this was a universal skill. All pets were suitable to learn it. It was not a loss to keep it. Everyone, listen up! After searching for a proper skill to obtain for a long time, Shiyu finally felt that he couldn't miss this one. At this moment, the professional beast tamer, Zhu Wanshan, who was in charge of training, suddenly shouted. The training will officially begin in half an hour. In this half an hour, you can still go to the store beside the training base to replenish your food and medicine. But after entering Mount Tuen Mang, except for some special circumstances, you can't come out again for 3 days. In any case, everyone only had one backpack. How many items they could store would depend on the candidate's own arrangements. Shiyu had naturally prepared the basic items, but they wouldn't last more than 3 days. He would still have to find the follow-up food after entering Mount Tuen Mang. At the same time, he also prepared a sleeping bag and a tool worm. At this moment, Shiyu started to feel helpless. If only the beast-taming space could store other things. It was so troublesome without spatial equipment. Speaking of which, was there spatial storage in this world? This was a question worth considering. If there was, he had to get one in the future. We boys have to get what we want. JPG. Right, that Mystic Realm ruins in Pingcheng looked like a very large spatial storage. It could even contain non-living things. Shiyu fell into deep thought. Shiyu! Just as Shiyu was wondering if the Mystic Realm ruins could also belong to him, Chen Kai suddenly came over. Do you want to form a team? Chen Kai asked immediately. Our class plans to form a team to hunt the Mad Python. My ice-armored beast can play control. There's someone in the class with a Thunder Element pet who can blow up fish in a lake. Shiyu asked, you can also team up this time? How do we split the loot? Chen Kai said, in any case, the examiner didn't say no. It should be possible. Don't the lakes around the Mad Python still have rare resources? It should be enough. Shiyu shook his head and said, "No, you guys go ahead. I have other goals." He felt that following these guys might not be as efficient as him going solo, and it was also inconvenient. Ah, I see. All right. Although Chen Kai wanted to team up with Shiyu more, he couldn't help but feel a sense of pity since he and his classmates had already agreed to act together. Regarding whether or not candidates were allowed to form teams, there were indeed no clear rules in the training base. However, the only similarity was that both the lone wolves and some small teens had their eyes on the few small bosses whose growth levels were above level 9 and were few in number. If he took down one of them, perhaps he would be in the top 20. Next, Shiyu went to the store to buy an insulation glove. Before long, he returned. It was still early to set off, so Shiyu simply continued to read the monster index on the spot. He had only flipped through the Fierce Beast section just now and had yet to look at the resource section. Collecting resources also gave points. Overall, it was similar to the assessments in the past years. Well, apart from the ferocious beasts and resources, there were also 2 more pages. Have you learned a daily survival technique? Time passed very quickly. In the blink of an eye, half an hour passed. The person in charge of the training gathered everyone again. Currently, it's 10 in the morning. Everyone, set off immediately. You're free to climb the mountain from the 4 entrances. There was a blockade around Mount Tuen Mang, with only 4 entrances and exits in the area. The environment of the different entrances and exits would be different. All the beast tamers present had studied the map carefully. They also had hunting targets in mind, so they also had some idea of which one they should go to. Therefore, as soon as Zhu Wanshan finished speaking, the 100 beast tamers immediately dispersed. At the same time, a certain number of mechanical birds the size of sparrows started to fly up from the training base and the safe areas in the mountain. They started to circle above Mount Tuen Mang. Race, mechanical bird. Attribute, machinery. Race level, low-level transcendent. Race skills, image storage, acceleration. Notes artificial mechanical life that is used to track, investigate, and monitor. After the mechanical bird flew up, the situation at the various locations of Mount Tuen Mang started to clearly appear on the big screens in the monitoring room and various monitoring rooms in the training base. Especially those ferocious beasts with higher growth levels, they were all important targets for monitoring. This was not only to ensure the safety of the trainees but also to see their performance more directly. The viewing process was also one of the few pleasures these examiners had. Wouldn't it be too boring to directly wait for the assessment results? At the foot of Mount Tuen Mang, at a certain midway point, was the entrance of the magnetic mountain area. Shiyu and about 20 beast trainers chose to enter from there. As for Chen Kai and the others, they entered from another direction and prepared to form a team to hunt the Mad Python. 11. Come out. The outermost area of Mount Tuen Mang must have been cleaned up. There were basically no ferocious beasts lingering around, so most beast tamers chose to summon their pets here and have them as protection. It was the same for Shiyu. He had seen it before. There were many rare spiritual plants on this mountain. There was no need to be afraid that 11 would exhaust his physical strength. He could let 11 eat as he walked, so he should be able to maintain the basic physical consumption. Ooh? At this moment, after coming out of the beast-taming space, 11 looked around in confusion. Was this the place? Where were the opponents? Where were the opponents? I'll bring you to find them. Shiyu was still very confident in the little iron-eating beast's strength. The ferocious beasts here could be said to be wild creatures that had not undergone training. Most of their battle power might be a little inferior to the pets carefully cultivated by beast tamers. Although his little metal-eating beast was only level 6, with its proficient level supervision, high-speed healing, and proficient level hardening, its battle power should be at the top of the food chain. As long as they didn't encounter a group of ferocious beasts, they were invincible. Wu Tilda? 11 waved and followed beside Shiyu. Shiyu added, by the way, pay attention to your surroundings. Unlike its vision, the iron-eating beast's sense of smell was very good. However, 11 had both. With this assurance, they could basically relax and not encounter any sudden danger. Now, it was time to train 11 in this area. The final objective was the magnetic mountain area's electric slime. After the pet summoning, Shiyu's next target was very clear as he advanced towards the mountain. He glanced at the map in the booklet. To reach his destination, he would first have to pass through the wild boar forest. A ferocious beast named Longthorn Wild Boar lived in this forest. It had extraordinary strength and looked fierce. Its fangs were sharp, its skin was thick, and it was covered in spikes that could defend against attacks like a hedgehog. It was a medium-level transcendent creature that would scare a child to tears, but its meat was fresh and juicy. Shiyu was still young at heart. Tears involuntarily flowed down the corners of his mouth. According to the book, the average growth level of the Longthorn Wild Boar in the Wild Boar Forest was at the 6th level of awakening. They were considered to be the backbone of the training segment. The Longthorn Wild Boars probably weren't creatures to be trifled with. Their battle power wasn't weak, so the points assigned to them weren't low either. However, the more it was like this, the more Shiyu was delighted. 11. I'll bring you to hunt pigs. Wutilda? Wild Boar Forest. The Longthorn Wild Boars were transcendent creatures that lived in groups. But in most cases, in fixed environments, they hunted separately, which gave the beast tamers here an opportunity. Dealing with a group of wild boars would definitely be a headache, but just dealing with one alone, most of the beast tamers participating in the assessment this time should have some confidence. Shiyu and 11 traversed a forest path and arrived near the Wild Boar Forest. During this period, they encountered other creatures, but they were all earth rats worth 20 points. Shiyu was not interested at all. It was too troublesome to travel with a bunch of burdens for dozens of points. There were even creatures that did not give points, such as green silkworms, that Shiyu was even more unwilling to take another look at. Found it! However, just as he arrived near the Wild Boar Forest, Shiyu discovered a long-spined wild boar foraging at the edge. Race, Longthorn Wild Boar. Attribute, Earth. Race level, mid-level transcendent. Race skill, petrifying fangs. Notes: mutated beast evolved from a wild boar. It's good at sudden pig charge and is very strong. When its fangs hit, it can petrify the enemy. PHHH. 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 It wasn't only Shiyu and the others who discovered the Longthorn Wild Boar. The wild boar had also discovered Shiyu and the others. The natural enemies of the Longthorn Wild Boar were ferocious beasts such as wolves, bears, leopards, and ferocious birds. Therefore, they had to be wary of any sudden attacks. They were very smart, fierce, and very vigilant. At this moment, it sensed danger and raised its head. The long spikes on its body suddenly protruded as it let out a grunt of warning. The Longthorn Wild Boar, which often lived in the wild, knew very well that it might have been locked onto by some hunters. It started searching cautiously, but when it saw the thin and weak Shiyu and the even smaller iron-eating beast panda cub, 11, it was immediately stunned. That was it? Tears of shock involuntarily flowed down the corners of the Longthorn Wild Boar's mouth. Wild boars were omnivorous animals. They ate plants and meat. To the current Longthorn Wild Boar, it only felt that the situation had suddenly reversed. The hunter is actually me. Food had come knocking on his door. Chapter 39. Chapter 39, Wild Boar Killer. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. UG. PHHH. After the boar saw Shiyu and 11, it even thought of which parts to eat first. Saliva dripped from the corners of its mouth and its eyes glowed. Its strong and powerful limbs stepped on the ground restlessly. Pig rush! This wasn't a skill, but a simple charge. The Longthorn Wild Boar first locked onto the cub of an unknown bear-type creature that might pose a greater threat to it. It raised its fangs fiercely and charged over. Be careful not to let its fangs touch your body, or you'll be petrified. In addition, its attack method is mainly charging around. Shiyu used telepathy to give 11 a simple order. He immediately retreated to a tree and planned to watch the show. This wild boar was nearly 2 meters long. Compared to 11, who was nearly 1 meter tall, it was a big difference in size. As it rushed over, 11 experienced a completely different feeling from when he fought the ice-armored beast. The charging speed of the Longthorn wild boar wasn't any slower than that of the ice-armored beast. Moreover, in terms of strength and physique, it was even more threatening. To 11 a week ago, perhaps it could have only resisted or dodged in a hurry, but now, the black and white hair standing on its legs swayed with the wind. Under its extreme concentration, its eyes flashed with a bright light. Intermediate skill supervision. Under the proficient level supervision, 11's vision ability was enhanced to the limit. Its dynamic vision was now unexpectedly outstanding. At this moment, the whole world seemed to have slowed down in its eyes. The ferocious-looking pig suddenly attacked with its petrified fangs, but in 11's eyes, it was very slow. Since his vision could clearly capture the enemy, 11 naturally had more time to react. Bang! Because the Longthorn wild boar's movements mainly focused on charging forward, it was very difficult for it to change its direction. Using this point, it was actually very easy to dodge the attack and counterattack. During the process of the Longthorn wild boar charging over, 11 directly turned sideways and successfully dodged. Eh? Where's the prey? In an instant, the boar lost its prey as it disappeared from its sight. After it missed, it became extremely confused. The next moment, the little iron-eating beast, who had dodged sideways, reacted abnormally quickly and launched a counterattack. After all, it had started practicing this in its mind ever since it saw the attack mode of the long-spined wild boar. At this moment, its bare paw was instantly covered by hardening and directly slapped towards the boar that had passed by. Crack! When the hardened bare palm came into contact with the long spikes on the wild boar's body, the long spikes instantly broke. Immediately following that, a huge impact came from the side, making the Longthorn wild boar's body feel like it was overturning rivers and seas and sense that something was wrong. Ooh! With a painful howl, under the inertial force of the wild boar's charge and 11's impact, the huge wild boar actually rolled diagonally. Howl, howl, howl! After being knocked over, the Longthorn wild boar became dizzy as it kept rolling on the ground. The pain then made it unable to stand up. Its expression was filled with horror. The food had hit back. 11, go for the kill. As an outstanding beast tamer, Shiyu would always teach his pet some outstanding abilities. Under his command, 11 immediately turned on all fours and stepped forward at the same time with its left front and right rear feet. It charged at the wild boar, looking even fiercer than the pig's sudden charge just now. Hardening, head, impact. With the force of the sprint, 11 directly hardened its head and made intimate contact with the Longthorn wild boar's head. With a bang, the boar's eyes turned white, and it completely fainted. Green silkworm, tie it up. Shiyu opened the zipper of his backpack. A little green worm came out reluctantly and used its worm silk on this huge wild boar. Soon, a level 7 Longthorn wild boar worth 350 points was easily hunted by Shiyu and his pets. As expected, the battle power is not on the same level. Shiyu looked at the long-spined wild boar bound by white threads and gained a new understanding of 11's battle power. From the looks of it, the only ones who could pose a threat to 11 in this state were probably those little bosses whose growth levels were at level 10. For a long-spined wild boar with only one attack pattern, it was easily countered to death by supervision and hardening. However, if it were Chen Kai's ice-armored beast, Shiyu felt that even if it could win one-on-one, it would have taken a lot of effort. Wu Tilda? At this moment, 11 was in the midst of the joy of defeating the Longthorn wild boar. Shiyu bent down and picked up one end of the thread and threw it to 11. Your favorite training segment is here. Carry the spoils of war and move forward with a heavy load. 11, O_O winking smiley. 11 originally thought that it would be over after defeating the Longthorn wild boar. It completely didn't expect that the wild boar's body could still be used as a training tool. As expected of its beast tamer, he was really thoughtful. 11 excitedly picked up the worm silk and dragged the wild boar with a thump. It looked expectant and curious about what was waiting for it in front. Let's continue deeper. After confirming the battle power of the Longthorn wild boar, Shiyu was relieved and brought 11 into the wild boar forest, planning to cross this place. At this moment, in the nearest safe area, in the monitoring room, a staff member who was browsing through the surveillance cameras suddenly noticed that something was up. He hurriedly enlarged a surveillance video. Brothers, someone has already opened for business here. A beast tamer has already killed a Longthorn wild boar and entered the wild boar forest alone. Alone? The surrounding security guards heard him and immediately looked over. In the overlooking image transmitted by a mechanical bird, an iron-eating beast panda cub was dragging the body of a long-spined wild boar with a white rope, following beside Shiyu. The man and beast boldly entered the forest marked with a certain level of danger on the map. That iron-eating beast. Looking at its size, it seems to be a cub? Its growth level shouldn't be more than 7. How did it easily defeat the Longthorn wild boar? The reason why it looked easy was because 11 was leisurely dragging the wild boar. If it was a difficult victory, the first thing Shiyu and the others would do was to take the relatively safe path marked on the map and enter a safe area. They would first convert the wild boar into points to rest and not drag the wild boar further into its territory. I didn't see it. Let's watch the replay tonight, the security guard who had noticed Shiyu and the others at the start said. With so many things happening, how could he have noticed Shiyu and the others from the start? Watch him carefully first. It's definitely dangerous for a person to enter the wild boar forest alone, but as long as they are smart enough and know how to climb trees, the Longthorn wild boar won't be able to hurt them, said a security guard. Shiyu's group was the first batch of candidates to have any major gains, causing them to immediately receive special attention from the security personnel of the nearest safe area. Soon, under their attention, Shiyu went deep into the forest and quietly found a few Longthorn wild boars gathered together. Hiding behind a tree in the distance, Shiyu and 11 looked at the 4 Longthorn wild boars foraging in the woods in front of them with different expressions. Shiyu was thinking about whether 11 could fight against for alone, while the little iron-eating beast was thinking about why Shiyu didn't let it charge forward. 11, do you want to give it a try? You have expert-level hardening and can fight with your whole body hardened. They shouldn't be a threat to you. Shiyu felt that there was no problem with its proficiency in hardening and supervision. After all, the wild boar's movements were simple, and their growth level wasn't high. Woo! 11's wild nature appeared. 1 vs 4. It sounded so exciting. All right, the green silkworm and I will cheer you on from behind the tree. It's all up to you, Shiyu encouraged. 11 was discouraged. All right then. Then, 11 put down the spoils of the wild boar that he was dragging and left Shiyu behind. It walked towards the group of Longthorn wild boars alone. Damn, this group is really going for this? This action had attracted the notice of the security guard in the security area monitoring room who was watching Shiyu. The guard's shout once again attracted the attention of the other security guards in the room. What's wrong? That beast tamer who brought the little iron-eating beast along, it's now charging towards the 4 Longthorn wild boars alone. What? He became arrogant after defeating one? Even if it was a 10th level pet, it would be very difficult to face for Longthorn wild boars alone. Then, under their surveillance, 11 walked into the perception range. Of the 4 boars. PHHH, 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 PHHH. An unknown creature had approached, and it was a bear-type creature that looked like a natural enemy. The 4 boars immediately revealed wary looks. However, after discovering that 11 was just a tiny cub less than a meter tall, their hearts immediately underwent 100 million changes just like the first Longthorn wild boar had before it was defeated. What was going on? Where did this guy come from? Was it giving them extra food? The 4 Longthorn wild boars were still in the observation stage, but at this moment, something unexpected happened. The little iron-eating beast in the distance suddenly stretched out its two paws, opened its mouth wide, and made a face to provoke. "Oh, oh, oh!" 11 mocked. "Holy shit!" The security guards were even more shocked. "Courting death?" PHHH, PHHH. 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 The 4 Longthorn wild boars suddenly charged forward at the same time, their sharp fangs ready to stab into 11. As the 4 wild boars rushed over from different directions, and because 11's supervision had yet to reach 360 degrees without any blind spots, it didn't dare to be careless and directly hardened its whole body. In an instant, a metallic luster filled its entire body. The metallic texture of the black fur was incomparably deep. The white fur became as hard as silver and dazzling. After it was fully armored, 11 let out a howl and used the method of fighting against the previous wild boar to directly smash the first wild boar that approached it. The next second, the second wild boar hit 11's body, but the boar felt as if it had hit a huge lump of steel. It didn't know how its enemy felt, but it knew that its fangs were about to shatter. "Howl!" the second wild boar cried out in pain. 11, who was hit, definitely wasn't injured. The other party didn't even break its defense. It only made the hardened area a little more earthy. However, the huge impact had still made 11 stagger, and its body was pushed aside a little. As it was hit, 11's wild nature was aroused. With an especially fierce expression, it directly pounced at the wild boar beside it and knocked it over with a collision. Then, its gaze became fierce as it searched for the remaining enemies. As for the remaining 2 Longthorn wild boars, because they were too far away at the start, they couldn't come into contact with 11 immediately, causing the battle range to be occupied by the first 2 wild boars. During this process, they clearly saw how their 2 companions were defeated by this little guy who had suddenly turned into a steel lump. Woo! At this moment, they had no intention of continuing the battle. The creatures in the wild were very pragmatic. If they weren't trapped, their first reaction when they encountered a strong enemy was definitely to run. However, 11 didn't intend to give them a chance to escape. It locked onto a Longthorn wild boar that had turned around and fearlessly bumped into it, scaring the wild boar into howling and jumping up as it ran. Holy **T. This was already the third what the F***CK in the monitoring room of the safe area. The 4 security guards surrounding the surveillance video looked at the screen in disbelief and rubbed their eyes hard. Wait a minute, they didn't see wrongly, right? An iron-eating beast panda cub, facing for Longthorn wild boars, defeated 2 in 2 moves. Then, it scared the other 2 into fleeing and even chased after them? It was like a wild boar killer. Expert level hardening? "Who is this candidate?" a security guard suddenly said with a serious expression. Chapter 40. Chapter 40, First place for now. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. Expert-level skills were clearly unscientific on a 2-year-old iron-eating beast panda cub. Iron-eating beasts were not pets that liked to train in the first place, so the skill proficiency on most of them was not very high. Most of the time, they relied on their strong physiques to defeat their opponents, not their skills. Even if this iron-eating beast started training when it was in its mother's womb, it would still be too ridiculous. It was fine if this was an adult iron-eating beast, but the key was that it was a cub. Sure. You? I think that's his name. Do you know him? I remember you studied at Bamboo Stone Dojo. Is he from your dojo? A person beside held the name list and asked the security guard who Shiyu was. No. I've never heard of him, the security guard said. The few of them looked at each other. So, what was going on with this Shiyu and this little iron-eating beast? A green silkworm? At this moment, another painful scene appeared on the screen. On Shiyu's side, 11 had already successfully defeated the 4 long-spined wild boars. At this moment, it was the green silkworm's turn again. It crawled out of Shiyu's backpack and used all its strength to spit out worm silk to tie up the boars. Isn't he a beast tamer trainee? Why does he have a second pet? Seeing the green silkworm, the few of them were even more surprised. Maybe it's just an additional pet without a contract. It wasn't that no beast tamer had done this before, but for ordinary beast tamers, this was too difficult. It was all right to raise a pet like a pet cat or a pet dog, but if one wanted to nurture a battle pet that understood commands and was willing to fight, it was very difficult without contracting with it. It was probably equivalent to the difference between a pet dog and a police dog. It was only because Shiyu had the gift of telepathy that the green silkworm could understand his meaning slightly. Otherwise, this green silkworm would definitely not be as obedient as it was now. This candidate is awesome. Not only does he have such a strong iron-eating beast cub, he even raised an additional green silkworm. I think this green silkworm's silk's level isn't low either. It's inevitable that it will evolve into a wind crystal butterfly. Brothers, let's bet on a cigarette. I bet they can rank in the top 3 of this assessment. The security guards at the security area's monitoring room started talking noisily. All right. Forget about him for now. Someone's already injured. But soon, the discussion stopped. The few of them were reprimanded by a serious security guard. It was time for work right now, so they couldn't place all their attention on Shiyu. It was good enough that they knew that Shiyu wasn't there to court death. The other beast tamers also needed a certain amount of attention paid to them. Although the training had just begun, there were already beast tamers and pets injured. They had to deal with it quickly. Wild boar forest. Big harvest. Shiyu and his pet still didn't know that their battle results had already been noticed by a portion of the security personnel. At this moment, he was happily looking at the tied-up long-spined wild boars. He was in a good mood. Very good. He had 1,750 points now. These points didn't look that difficult to obtain. Compared to points, Shiyu was hungrier for the meat of the long-thorn wild boar. Previously, he was fortunate enough to have eaten spicy stir-fried wild boar meat once in the canteen of the Iron Bamboo breeding base in Icefield City. He wondered how it would taste if it was handled by him. Speaking of which, the spoils of war should be edible, right? Shiyu looked at 11, who shook its head. Woo! I don't know. Don't ask me. It was only in charge of fighting and wasn't interested in wild boar meat. Compared to wild boar meat, it was more concerned about the bamboo shoots in Shiyu's backpack. Gulp! After the battle, 11's stomach rumbled. Although it was very fierce, it was still a cub after all. The consumption from such a battle was also very high. I know. Shiyu took out 2 sections of sliced iron bamboo shoots and threw them to 11. At the same time, Shiyu also placed the green silkworm on the tree trunk and said, "Go and find some leaves to settle yourself. I don't think there are any spiritual plants in this wild boar forest." After vomiting so much silk, the green silkworm must have consumed as much as 11. Green silkworm. Shiyu and the others rested for about 20 minutes before continuing deeper. This time, dragging 5 long-thorn wild boars was a little difficult even for 11. Shiyu, of course, had no problems letting this training addict panda carry the load. He treated it as him exercising too. Next, they had to continue passing through the wild boar forest and reach the nearest safe area. Then, after passing through that safe area, they could head to the magnetic mountain area for the electric slime. In front, Shiyu and 11 were pulling 2 ropes made of worm silk. The green silkworm was lying in the backpack behind him to replenish its strength because it might need to tie up wild boars later. After walking for another 5 minutes, 11 suddenly stopped. "There's a wild boar?" Shiyu asked. 11 nodded. Then, Shiyu heard a commotion not far away. However, when he heard the sound, Shiyu's expression was odd. This sound was similar to the cry of a wild boar, but not entirely. Instead, it sounded more like a human scream. "Ah, run! There's a tree in front. Run to the tree. F*CK, why are there suddenly 10 long-thorn wild boars? How do we fight them?" Before long, Shiyu saw clearly that it was a group of wild boars chasing after 2 people. Beside the two of them, there was also a level 6 Icefield Hound and a level 7 Snow Striped Mink running together. Using the terrain and their skills, the Icefield Hound and Snow Striped Mink would interfere with the wild boar group speed from time to time, creating an opportunity for them to flee. As for the Longthorn wild boars behind, their levels were all above 6. It was probably very difficult for 2 to defeat 10, and these pets clearly didn't number 11. It was no wonder that the two beast tamers would run away crazily. They didn't dare to face such a large pack of Longthorn wild boars, but they didn't want to give up the assessment by seeking help. They could only run and decide what to do later. The nearby trees were all very thick, and the Longthorn wild boars wouldn't be able to knock them down for some time. As long as they climbed onto the trees, the wild boars would be at their wits' end. Wait, there seems to be someone ahead. A beast tamer who was running suddenly saw Shiyu in front. Ooh, PHHH, 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 PHHH. It wasn't just them. The group of Longthorn wild boars also smelled these newcomers. 10 at once? Shiyu and 11 stood there. Shiyu was calculating the chances of 11 winning against 10 Longthorn wild boars. Ordinary Longthorn wild boars couldn't break through 11's defense in his hardened state. Even if they did, it could still heal at a high speed. Therefore, it would be a test of 11's physical strength. Forget it, what am I overthinking about? Shiyu quickly shook his head. This was because when this group of pragmatic wild boars saw their companions on the ground and being dragged in a pile, they immediately turned and ran without a word. They had no intention of fighting at all. Ooh, PHHH, 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 PHHH. Let's run for it. At a distance, the group of wild boars scattered and escaped, directly leaving the two beast tamer trainees, the Icefield Hound and the Snow Striped Mink, stunned on the spot. They ran away? They stopped chasing? Right on the heels of that, they saw Shiyu and the little iron-eating beast walking over slowly with the 5 Longthorn wild boar spoils of war. The scene was extremely striking. Oh my, the Icefield Hound's beast tamer exclaimed and looked at the spoils of war dragged by Shiyu in disbelief. He had some impression of Shiyu. They had entered Mount Tuanmang through the same entrance together. It had only been such a short period of time, so what was with the pile of Longthorn wild boars behind Shiyu? At this moment, the Snow Striped Mink's beast tamer also noticed why the group of Longthorn wild boars had run away. It was because at this moment, Shiyu and his pet, who were dragging a group of Longthorn wild boars, had an especially strong aura. Even he was shocked, let alone the boars. If you want to find lone Longthorn wild boars, go to the periphery. Don't go deep into the forest. After Shiyu passed by them, he casually reminded them and continued to drag a bunch of Longthorn wild boars with 11. I understand. Thank you, big boss. The two of them hurriedly thanked him, but after being chased by the wild boars, they temporarily had no intention of hunting anymore. They planned to go to the safe area to rest first. After taking a breath on the spot, they chose to follow far behind Shiyu. After all, the path Shiyu took was the path that would allow them to safely pass through the forest and reach the safe zone. Following that, because they were dragging the 5 Longthorn wild boar spoils of war, the other Longthorn wild boars completely treated Shiyu and the others as top-level hunters. No matter how easy it might look to bully Shiyu and 11, no wild boar dared to approach them. As for dragging so many Longthorn wild boars along, Shiyu temporarily had no intention of taking the initiative to find trouble with the boars. It was almost afternoon now, and he still hadn't had time to eat lunch. It was better to directly go to the safe area to submit the boars. After spending some time, Shiyu and the others finally arrived at a small safe area surrounded by wood and thorns. It looked like a small village. When Shiyu arrived, there were already 5 to 6 people there. It was unknown if they had passed through the wild boar forest or directly walked through the safer paths. There were no extra houses in the safe area, only the monitoring room and the infirmary, so the candidates could only sit and rest for a short while under the straw shed outside. At this moment, half of the candidates who were resting outside looked pretty normal, but the other half were covered in dust. Shiyu even saw a young man whose clothes were dyed red and whose arm was tied with a white bandage.
Was he attacked by a wild boar?
There was also a beast tamer with a scab on his face. This scab looked like a scar. What the F***ck, was he disfigured by the Great Blade Mantis and then healed? Because of the existence of healing-type pets, as long as the candidate didn't die on the spot, the chances of saving him were still pretty high. Although that was the case, when Shiyu saw the 2 to 3 bandaged beast tamers, he still subconsciously swallowed his saliva. How miserable! It was kinda scary. Shiyu felt that this group of injured people was dispelling his motivation to continue hunting the level 10 boss. When Shiyu entered, his gaze swept across the candidates who had already arrived at the safe area. The candidates were also paying attention to Shiyu who had just entered. When the 6 people saw Shiyu and the little iron-eating beast dragging 5 long-thorn wild boars in, their eyes immediately widened as though they had seen something unbelievable. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did they count wrongly? 5? After taking a closer look, they were certain that Shiyu had entered alone. In other words, Shiyu had hunted 5 long-thorn wild boars alone. Where did this god come from? Although the long-thorn wild boar wasn't the most powerful ferocious beast on Mount Tuanmang, not everyone could easily hunt 5 consecutive wild boars in one go. After all, the pet's physical strength was limited, and not much time had passed. You're finally here. At this moment, a security guard in a blue uniform walked out of the control room and said, "We've been watching you through the surveillance cameras for a while now. Your iron-eating beast is very strong. Do you want to register your points? I'll help you register." Shiyu looked over and nodded. "Yes, please. By the way, can I eat this wild boar?" The security guard was stunned. "How do you want to eat it? Roasted? I advise you not to eat it. The meat of the long-thorn wild boar is indeed delicious, but that has to be processed through multiple procedures." Shiyu was greatly disappointed. Then, he could only eat the braised beef instant noodles in his backpack. He had originally wanted to eat well here and then go replicate the skill in the afternoon. At the training base of Mount Tuanmang. In the main control room. Unlike the situation where each safe area of Mount Tuanmang only needed to monitor fixed areas, this place had to pay attention to the situation of the entire Mount Tuanmang, so it didn't have a very good oversight over the situation of individual candidates. However, as they looked at the points transmitted in real time from the safe areas, the 5 professional beast tamers here quickly knew which contestants had performed very well. At the moment, the first place on the big screen was a beast tamer named CFA. He had 1,500 points. Not long after he entered Mount Tuanmang, he had successfully hunted a rockback lizard that had grown to level 9. He had been in first place for a long time,